Welcome back, everyone, to the Overwatch Carbon Series, brought to you by Carbon Entertainment. We're here in Week 5, and we're one match in as we're on the road to the playoffs, which will be this weekend. And already we've had an interesting best of 5, to say the least. But we're going into our next matchup, and that is going to be Renegades versus LG Evil. And as far as playoff contention, LG Evil still undefeated. They have no chance of getting out of their first place spot. On the other hand, Renegades, they are one game away from dropping down into the third or potentially even fourth place position, especially with Immortals picking up victory right there. Renegades has to perform. And if they lose this match, they're one game closer to a potential weird tie in the middle. Any thoughts on this one, ZP, coming out of the gate?
Well, clearly, by the stakes you have just outlined, that this means a lot more for Renegades than it does, in fact, mean for LG Evil. I think for LG Evil, it depends. Now that there's no other tournaments going on between this final week and playoffs, if they did have extra tricks in their bag of tricks, I don't know if they pull them out here. I think we probably see LG Evil play this pretty standard, use it as practice for what could be a finals matchup, but I don't think LG Evil is necessarily going to be going all out here because why should they?
Well, that's a darn good question, isn't it? Let's go ahead and take a look at the Renegades roster coming into this one because there has actually been an interesting change. We're going to see. I actually don't know how to pronounce this. So
Saini.
Saini?
It said say and then ni.
Yeah.
Okay, Saini. That's actually way easier than the stuff I was going to make up. So there we go. But he's going to be playing that flex role potentially. We're expecting to see him apparently on Genji and Zarya. Any other insights on this roster and him specifically coming in here?
Well, that's a name I hadn't seen in a while. I see it pop up in the lobby loading. I'm like, Saini, that is a fella who has been off of rosters for quite a long time. I talked to him personally, I think 6 to 7 months ago, and he had rosters they were building. They never really came to fruition. A good Genji player for Mozo. I can't remember what team. Do you remember what team he used to be on? It's been a while. It's been like 8 months.
Saini going way far back. He was on the Team Roulette. I'm trying to think of the most notable team that he was on. It wasn't Dignitas. He wasn't with those guys. It was a different team.
Was
that
he
is
in Creation early? Anyway,
Yeah,
He was on a team. We
yes,
know this.
he was on a European team very early on.
That was Dignitas.
Yeah, Creation turned into... Anyway, so maybe production could help us. We can't remember absolutely everything, but it's a name of a player who's been on teams for a very long time, especially early in closed beta. He was on teams. He was a very good Genji, notably for that. That's why he's here to replace Saipe, but has not had a roster for quite a long time. I think he had notions of moving to North America. I just know more about him as a person than I do as a player because he's been not on a team for so long.
He's been out of competition for a long time. What probably hasn't helped either is that we haven't had quite as many EU tournaments in recent memories.
Yeah.
So anything that he could be playing on, we've just seen significantly less of him. So it's sort of a pick that's out of left field to some extent. I do think you add in ping issues and all the rest, that it's probably not going to work out better than when Saipe was with RNG's roster, but I'm willing to be surprised.
Well, you know what? He is going to be rounding out this roster, and we've seen this is the third Genji player we've seen for this team, and none of them have been really deficient. But they're really still searching for that perfect fit for the team it sees as Saini is going to be playing today. And then let's take a look at their opposition. Coming up against them, a roster that has been very difficult to deal with in general, but has shown signs. They have lost matches, I suppose I should say, in recent history, most recently this weekend, actually. And it is going to be LG Evil, Jake Train, Super Vol, Avast, and Rob 420. So what are we expecting out of this squad, especially from the OMM results?
Well, it might run in Luminosity family, and the idea that LG Evil has been a little bit hit or miss recently. But overall, you take their entire body of work at the Carbon Series, we know 2 very big things about them. They are a versatile team. There's a lot they can run in a given set. And generally speaking, they have had a high degree of success. They've hit a bit of a wall in terms of higher-end Overwatch competition, getting through teams like Rogue and Selfless reliably recently, but they've been improving at a pretty high rate, although I will note that some of their struggles recently have been a little bit alarming.
The struggles can be good for a young team to run into struggles and overcome them. I'm just not sure where they are, if it's a lack of effort or if it is the game tape, because it's still early on to describe that. I was mentioning to ZP on our way here that they're in this weird era right now where there is tape on them. So they're in a prove it month, that they came out guns blazing in the initial OMM, did not have the results that they wanted to in the most previous OMM, have absolutely blown through this tournament, but now the honeymoon is over. Now it's actually time to put rubber to the road and see where they actually are. Again, going 0-3 in group stages in OMM is concerning overall. It's a team that hadn't really lost sets. They lost to Immortals, but then they came back, they beat Fnatic, they beat FaZe, they beat Immortals, so they're all over the place again. I do think they're more consistent than they've shown. I think being 8-0 maybe has something to do with it, but I'd like to see them really put in the effort to go undefeated.
It is interesting that they were able to just burn through the lower bracket the way they did on day 2. So they clearly fixed things from day 1. Of course, did run in the trouble of Selfless later on in the day. So for LG Evil, it is interesting. I do think that they have gone significantly away from their old school hyper tank aggression and have sort of settled into more of a hybrid setup. They do have a lot of options that they can run, but I feel like as they've been expanding their horizons, they haven't really settled on the 2-3 setups that they really want to get good at.
Yeah, they've been flexing multiple muscles as far as compositions and strengths go, and someone who has been flexing several different heroes and definitely filling different roles for the team is going to be our player to watch coming into this one. It's going to be Train. I mean, we've seen him on, he tends to be more towards the tanky side, playing that Roadhog and solidifying their front line with that, but then we see him on Widow and other heroes like that. What are we expecting coming out of Train here as we're coming into our first map?
They need to be quicker to put Train onto a second DPS. That was something I noticed with them. They were trying to run this single DPS setup with Train a lot on Roadhog, and a lot of times they just didn't have the damage when you're focusing down Jake as hard as teams are going to be focusing. Now, of course, you see Train a lot on D.Va to keep Jake alive. Sometimes it's just not enough. He's going to be their first flex onto the second DPS. If they need a Tracer, if they need something else, or allow Jake to run maybe a Pharah, and Train will go on to a 76 or something like that. So he is the player to watch, not only for his D.Va play early on when they are running the all-protect Jake strat, but he's the one who's going to flex off onto that first DPS. Now, what he flexes onto is going to be the question.
Whatever Train runs here needs to be with the priority of assisting Jake in some way, because you look at historical setups here for LG Evil, one of their Achilles heels has actually been dealing with Pharahs, which unfortunately for them is a specialty of Renegades. And there have been matchups between Renegades and LG Evil where Renegades has just run over LG Evil using Pharah in other tournaments. So I think for LG Evil here, if they've done their homework, they should realize that they are going to be going into a Pharah. And then as regards to Train, you should be running, whether it be on a D.Va, whether it be on a secondary DPS, whatever it may be, the goal there should be, let's shut down Pharah from Mangachu and then make Renegades beat you with something else, because once Mangachu is off the Pharah, LG, or Renegades rather, is a much more beatable team.
Well, here's a question then for you. Do we see Pharah on Hollywood? That is going to be our first map of the game. I guess these teams were watching that last one, and they said, I can do better than that, and we're going to be playing on Hollywood. Do we see Pharah here?
Yeah, you can run Pharah on every point of offensive Hollywood for sure. Even last in that case, because we talked so much about how the high ground is priority, getting them off of the ledge. Pharah's great at that. A simple concussion can win you a fight there. Defensively, it's a little more difficult, but it's Mangachu. Of course, we're going to see Pharah.
Yeah. Hex pretty much covered it. If we did see Pharah coming out from Renegades, it would be a huge boon to LG Evil, because you take a look at Renegades tape in recent memory, it has been a struggle for Renegades to run good compositions without the Pharah. I mean, Mangachu, who is an excellent Pharah, top class, takes a big hit in his impact on the game when he goes to a 76. So once you've forced that swap off, you can almost declare victory. So we'll see if Renegades has perhaps fixed that sort of weakness over some of the break, but we'll have to find out.
Well, here's my question in that case, and that is for you, Hex. If we don't see him at all on Pharah, will you get a Grim Reality High Ground tattoo?
No.
I'm never gonna let this go.
I do not.
This is now my new vendetta against you.
Why?
No,
I don't
okay,
no. I don't want to get the people's hopes up that I'm going to be tattooed someday. This is a pristine canvas. I'd like to keep it that way.
I'm not going to say prove it. That's what I really wanted to say, but I'm not going to say it. What I am going to say, though, is that we're going to have a lot of amazing plays coming out of this match, no matter which way you slice it. And you have an opportunity to tell us which ones you think are the best ones. And if you're on Twitter, well, that's really where you're going to have the chance to do that. Follow us at Game Carbon and then tweet at us as the plays are unfolding with the hashtag OCS plays for your shot at a bunch of cool Blizzard swag that they were so great in giving us to give back to you, as well as a slot in the after the mainstream, or we're going to throw you up there before our replays with your tweet on stream. Once again, at Game Carbon, hashtag OCS plays. as we're going to be coming into Hollywood in just a bit. And Hollywood, we saw it a lot earlier on in the season. The first week we saw it a couple times, but it hasn't been as popular lately. Do you think this is a product of teams moving off of it in their scrims, working on other maps, or do you think that it's just been the teams that we've been watching?
I say teams don't really know what they're doing right now in terms of maps, where you have the entire statistic where the team that the map that the team is choosing first, they're losing on more often than not across the entire series, and the part where if you watch Overwatch over a long period of time, the favored map for teams that they like going to first really does change. There was a period in time where Hollywood was picked first in everything, regardless of what system was used to turn maps. And then there was a time where it was Kings Row, or a time where I think there was a week where it was Numbani. Teams are fickle in what they like to play.
Cyclical nature of maps, of course, and I don't know, just hearing Gil talk about that sweepstakes and entering in makes me want to fire up all my Twitter Smurfs. So many Twitter Smurfs. So many Twitter Smurfs. I can't even count them all. Thank goodness. You know, honestly, if you just look at my Twitter page, it's me having a conversation with myself the majority of the time. It's how I exercise my schizophrenic demons. We are here on Hollywood, though, and thankfully our observers are not going to rotate over to the poster and make me sad that those movies do not exist. I think defensively here, LG Evil could run a Torb. It's something they're known for. Even when Renegades gets on the defense, I would not be surprised to see Mangachu on the Torb. Mangachu 76 has left a lot to be desired in the recent matches.
I'm already scared here for Renegades if they're not coming out here with the Pharah. I think that would not be good, especially for first point, where we've seen Pharah do very successfully for taking it. I don't know if that would be sort of I'm going to prove it to you type moment for Mangachu, but I do think that if they run the 76, there's a greater than not chance of LG Evil's defense just absolutely stuffing them early on. So we'll see how this works out. Of course, we don't really know what Mangachu's going to be on. It's probably not the Hanzo, though.
Yeah.
He has played it in the past. It wouldn't be entirely out of left field, but no, it's looking like the 76.
It's mostly looking like that because they're not running a Mercy so far, and that's generally what Mangachu would like to have on his side. An interesting composition for Renegades as we see how they make adjustments to the newer roster. Sani will be on the Zarya. Jesus is going to play a diva of all things. They're going to go solo DPS a lot on Mangachu's shoulders.
Well, this is where Mangachu is sort of a prove moment for a 76, but going into the defense of LG Evil, that can be easier said than done, especially if LG Evil is on form. Mangachu right now coming in on the flank, supported by his Reinhardt. Just entirety of Renegades coming in from this back alley.
Yeah, it's a nice move, too. That's one way to really isolate the turret. Now you've taken the position away from the defense, and that cafe means nothing to go down.
And it's Jesus leading the way. Jesus and Juvenile just being that vanguard, taking down two, and even Mangachu gonna take down two at the very end, grabbing on the Jake. And LG Evil not doing anything to help protect that. I would say arguably part of it is the Torbjorn turret not very effective towards the very end, but there was no pushback at all from LG Evil on any avenue.
The positive you can say for Renegades is they've clearly scouted it. That was clearly a path in a composition meant to take out the turret and take out the strong point that has been the Renegade or the LG Evil defense. Jake goes down very early, but Mangachu had to give his life for it. A sneaky charge attempt by Juvenile almost gets punished. His healers keep him nice and healthy. Here comes a Earthshatter, happens behind the shield.
The Earthshatter does not hit the way it wants to. It was very close to being behind. Not quite enough, so no one gets knocked down as a result. It looked like it was behind, but it wasn't. And here comes the rest of Renegades onto the payload, taking down LG Evil. LG Evil really struggling to get a good engage here. It's been free kills left and right for Renegades as they just punish LG Evil for not landing hooks they were looking for when they were running the Roadhog and really just failing to disrupt.
LG Evil has done nothing so far, no other way to say it. However, they've started slow in the past. It's a team that even back when they were Hammers Esports, you never wanted to give any sort of momentum to. A single kill could start cracking this wide open for LG Evil. That's simply how they play. They've started slow the last 4 or 5 sets we've seen them. And Mangachu up top.
Here comes the Nano Attack Visor in over the top, gonna hunt down Rob 420 first, looking for a little bit extra action here in the saloon. Picks up 2 before it's all said and done, and Mangachu off that flank, killing 3. And the one thing about Mangachu Soldier is that we've gone on him for having rough times mechanically, but he's very good at using tack visors to maximum effect when he does have that ultimate up, and LG Evil just getting steamrolled right now.
This has been completely a one-sided affair. If we had a scoreboard, I don't think we could show it on this rated of a broadcast. It's been that bad. Sani is in the back lines, and regardless of losing a couple there, they got second point. You're happy.
for LG Evil, I do wonder about the ultimate usage there. I think they thought they would have been able to hold on last, but they expend all that to take out Renegades after they've capped the point. They're not getting a whole lot for exchanging those ultimates there. They win the fight, but they haven't really stalled the card out much at all.
A LG Evil style offense for Renegades is really coming to bear as Magaju has not been touched. He has been a de facto protect the president here. That grab will come in.
Graviton in from Renegades. They're looking to pile on. Self-destruct in the back. Takes down 2. It's a beauty from Jesus, just lobbed in over the top. And Renegades continuing this consistent momentum as LG Evil, they die with 3 ultimates there. Maybe it was because you're like pick up, they don't use anything, but this next fight coming up is must win.
Either Super or Vol have to do something here to stop the bleeding. They've got 2 of the most powerful ultimates in the game at the ready. They've done nothing so far.
Well, I want to see Vol here, and how he sets up this Graviton is going to be very important as Soundbear comes in here from Renegades. There's the Graviton from Vol. Going to be picking in 4. A Super able to get the cleanup, swings the hammer right inside with the Flame Strike. Juvenile throws an Earth Shatter late into the fight, but it's kind of a waste at that point. Most of your team is dead.
There's a reason you don't hear the phrase retreating Earth Shatter all that often, but it's exactly what you saw there. Did knock down 4, no follow-up at all. Would like to have that one back, you'd have to imagine. LG Evil was on the verge of stabilizing. They did win the early fight, but still not able to push back too far, and this is just an ongoing fight.
Well, this is where we'll see what Magnitude does here. Earthshare coming in from LG Evil this time around. Super looking for early kills. Doesn't get it immediately. And here comes Magnitude. Counter Nano Visor on the way. Picks off 1. Looking for a little bit more. LG Evil, they overextend a bit off of that Earth Shadow that did nothing. And as a result, Renegades punishing them in turn. It's going to force out the Soundbear from LG Evil as they try and turn this round. Here comes the Dragon Blade from Jake, as he is immediately thrown off the point.
It feels like LG Evil is not in comms right now. They're not talking to each other. Everyone is playing by themselves. No one has had a decent game so far.
Well, Renegades is taking full advantage of that. Much better execution coming out from them. Do have a Dragon Blade coming out from Jake here once more, since he didn't lose it last time, but gets nothing done with the second Dragon Blade. Renegades piling on. Graviton surges in. No one in that Graviton because everyone is dead. Renegades clearing out the point and setting a very fast time here in Hollywood. And to their credit, they do it without the Pharah. Although I will say for LG Evil, that was not a characteristic game for them. More so than anything else, usually when LG Evil does well, they're getting high contribution out of their tanks. Didn't see anything when they were running Roadhog. Overall, it was a weaker game.
The only thing I've been correct about tonight is that the perception of Overwatch teams can change very, very quickly within maps, within sets. And I think this might just be the most confusing night of Overwatch so far in my brief career here. That was very uncharacteristic of LG Evil. Not that they lost a map. They've lost maps before, not many, mind you. But to get bodied the way they did, there was no hope in that set for them. Jake did nothing. So this is why it's so confusing. Because across the board, we usually look at these teams, especially LG Evil, and I say, not a weak part on this team. Everyone contributes. Everyone does something. And then that one, everyone did nothing.
Well, I will note one thing here is that when you look at the playoff implications and all the rest here, LG Evil does not necessarily have a strong reason to pull out all the stops here.
True.
But on the same note, if you want to take that literally, they did pull out all the stops because Renegades was basically not stopped that entire Hollywood.
You're right. They're 8-0, and they have secured first seed, so they could try to practice. They could try whatever strats they wanted, but that was a very basic composition. That's something they generally run. I wanted to see the 10-0. So on a personal level, I'm disappointed because it does not seem like they're giving it their grade A effort. Although some credit due to Renegades here. It's very difficult to tell in Overwatch if a team played bad or another team played extremely well. It's usually a pretty significant mix of both. But they kept Mangachu alive that entire game. That was clearly their strategy. Juvenile was allowed to be more aggressive because Saini's on the Zarya, getting that bubble so important. And then Jesus almost never plays D.Va.
Well, it was a very good game for both Juvenile and Jesus. Jesus was able to get into the face of LG Evil very early on, and I do think we require another pause here as there's still some technical difficulties coming in from the side of LG Evil.
I think they just wanted to pause because I've been looking at this chat between two teams, and they're just reminiscing about old TF2 times. Of course, LG Evil, formerly Bird Noises, a lot of TF2 players there. Mangachu, a former TF2 player. A lot of these players on both sides. So they're just kind of kicking it old school right now, thinking about the good old days in Team Fortress 2.
I think they wanted to get another look at left guy. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
I want another look at left guy.
Yeah, well, you
think
have,
I'm watching the game
man,
during these games?
Yeah, everyone must be envying you then. Just me shaking my head over here between weird stuff from Immortals and LG Loyal. I was going to talk about the Protect the 76 comp for Mangachu, but we're going to go right back into game. It was good seeing y'all. Peace out.
Well, luckily for me, I can still look at Gil anytime I want. But we are going to be getting back in the game here, and now we're going to see what LG Evil has to show us on their attack. And it's going to be a very heavy dive attack here. Not too dissimilar to what we've seen from teams like Rogue, though they will be adding in the Zarya as well.
There's already no Zenyatta, but the Zenyatta is a relatively recent addition to, well, the current iteration of dive compositions. Used to be a big part of dive comps, but they're going to run an Ana instead. They do get this high ground super already going in. Genji's with them. They're isolating targets very low. A nice nade keeps everyone alive and puts Jake down.
Well, Mangachu was priority #1 there, but Renegades was well protected in that cafe. Jesus with a nice defensive matrix to mitigate a lot of that damage, and they just fight right back. And Avast wondering where his team has gone here as he just gets crunched against the wall.
The big difference in that dive was the nade from Sherlocky, able to keep everyone healed up. He waited to the last second to do it. It put a lot of damage onto Jake. Still, Ana able to do that in her current iteration. So a nice play from him there. They're just going to reset and try it again. It does appear that Renegades is expecting this. They're all posted out right outside the cafe doorstep.
LG Evil just rolling on set point. No fear from Supro, though. It's kind of an awkward engage to start things out here. Renegade still very much prioritizing Cafe, but this time Jake gonna get his target. Finds Mega too early on. Bionade on him, keeping him very low, and he does fall. 4v4 on the point. As Renegades still in the Cafe, still trying to reestablish, but it's very back and forth here as far as trades go. Still, good news for LG Evil as they do want those trades. Trade picks up another 2.
We mentioned that Train will be the person to flex onto that secondary DPS, and he is showing up big time on that Tracer as they switch the compositions after the first fight. You have to love that adaptability from LG Evil, noticing that dive comp was being defended against, and then they just put Super back on Reinhardt.
The adaptability's definitely worked out in their favor, although we have been in the era of just running one comp incredibly well, so it does make you wonder what is the better of the two approaches. But for LG Evil, that's a much better fight. They're able to cut through. Renegades have plenty of tools to defend this as we get into the second.
Well, running one comp entirely well has been LG Evil's bag previously, running 4 tanks, but they've shown over the last month or so they run a lot of different things. They've been extremely versatile, so they're not at Rogue levels of running one comp and running it perfectly, but that versatility still allows them to try a lot of different things. Gonna try to bully down this high ground is Jay, getting a little bit of poke, but there's a whole welcoming party up here. Now Mangachu rotates off.
Mangachu going to the back line. He was getting a little bit of guff from Train, but able to pierce right through. Ends up taking down a Boston. Renegades not stopping here at the Cafe, going even deeper. Jake gonna bite it. Renegades able to win that ultimate showdown to some extent, though LG Evil, they do back out in terms of how many ults are thrown to that fight. They should be able to turn this around going to the next.
Well, they're just gonna hold down High Cafe here. A Nanoblade could be on the way out as Train has rotated up. Now they're running it. Here comes the Nanoblade into Cafe. A lot of people up there.
Well, this is one way to disrupt people's coffee time. Jake looking for that kill, does find Sherlock, but has to extend most of his Nanoblade to do that. Meanwhile, Mangachu and Juvenile, they just counter dive into the backline. So Jake expends a lot of time for that, doesn't get what he's looking for, and the punish is very real for Renegades.
Absolutely. Jake trying to get some more poke out here. Oh, at relatively low health will get them backed off, and they will not rotate back into the top of the Cafe. Jake all alone out here has to be very careful with his poke. Will get healed up.
Evil trying to establish some momentum. Here comes Diva self-destruct in over the top, and look at that from Jesus, takes down 2! Immediately sending LG Evil back. They're not able to avoid that. And just when you think LG Evil might be getting momentum going, it is the self-destruct from Jesus that completely shuts the door.
It's a perfectly placed self-destruct because it was right behind Super. Had he swung his shield around, then everyone dies to the fire coming in from front. Rocking a hard place.
Right time in here from Vol, trying to clear out the Cafe, but the follow-through not there to start things out. Still is going to send the back as Super lands the Earth Shatter, setting up for 2 kills. It was the stairs on the way out that ended up doing Renegades in, so Renegades perhaps a little bit far deep here. LG Evil able to punish it, but so much time has been burned off the clock by this aggressive defense.
Well, they already are going to have a slower time if they are even able to finish the map. Of course, Renegades did finish the map on their attack, so that is LG Evil's goal here to aid in that goal. They do have 4 ultimates available. Train has his self-destruct too. This is an area on this map is one of the best areas in all of Overwatch to hit giant self-destructs. Buildings are providing great cover for you to launch over the top. Also a Nano Blade at the ready too.
Well, LG Evil certainly with a lot of tools here, and you got to think Jake coming in over the top. Here comes Dragon Blade. No nano boost on him yet. Going on this a little bit without that aid and gets slept and taken down. Not the best engage there from Jake. A good punish from Renegades, but again, it's Train. Now with the self-destruct inside back. Divas having a big effect on both teams. And LG Evil still carrying this point forward here as Renegades a little bit taken aback by that self-destruct.
If they can take down this Reinhardt, it's going to open things up for Super, but Super is the one who falls. Juvenile will go shortly after. Brawly on the point, still being contested, but Renegades finally with the full cleanup there. Look like they want to hold right around the bend again. Why not? Train is going to go back here and want to regroup.
That fight was on a razor's edge, and I do wonder if Train is going to stay on the Diva, if he was just backing up to his team, or he's going for a swap. It does look like he's going to stay on the Diva here, so Renegades, crucial fight win there, decided by about 1 kill, and now we'll see if they can hold this out as we're getting down to the wire on point 2 here. LG Evil, they need a big Graviton here from Vol. It's one of the few ways they're going to win this decisively. And here comes a Graviton by Vol. Ends up taking out 3. The self-destruct by Jesus, though, protects everyone on Renegades. Takes down 2, including Vol.
They spent 3 people up over the top to try to take down Mangachu with his Diva cover. They put more resources into it and still were unable to dislodge Mangachu over the top. That left the remainder of their team exposed on the bottom to that cart. And the self-destruct did happen there.
Indeed, and now you take a look at Renegades. They're in on the top, they're locked in. They only have to defend for 25 more seconds, so it's been a great defense from Renegades that LG Evil has not been able to crack. It's gonna come down to Jake. Sound Bearer's up. Here comes the Dragon Blade. Jake once more, looking for anything in the back. Sleep Dart not gonna connect. Lets him stay alive after that kill in the Shiraki. Gonna stop right there, but Super with the fall through on the ground. Jake into the air, Super on the ground. 3 unanswered kills by LG Evil, and they very well could get the second off this.
They could, they most likely should here as they follow down and get a couple more kills. Rob and Vol will combine for those last 2. Jake is going to be sneaking around looking for these split spawns, and it does seem like the split spawns have come. Not captured the point just yet, but no one's going to be able to get out here and stop this. Second point is added. 90 seconds more on the clock. Still behind the 8 ball is LG Evil here as they're trying to finish out this map. A reestablished defense comes into the mix. They do have the Nano Visor ready.
A lot of time here for Renegades. They already have a time advantage for sure, but there's the defensive Graviton coming in. The follow through, trying to get into it, but it's Super swing the shield, doing a good job of protecting. Still 5v5. Mangachu not getting much off that Nano boost. Holds on to the Tech Visor because of how that was developing. But for LG Evil, they're not able to push through, and they're pushed back to some extent. Valuable time being lost here as they're down to their final minute once more.
He did get the Nano boost. I think a lot of that was to try to clean up what was in the Graviton there. You don't need the visor to shoot people who are held in position there. Train is getting close to having another self-destruct. That has been one of the best things that's worked for LG Evil so far, up and over the top. As long as it doesn't land on the ledge, it could get some space open for it. There he does, sends it into the corner. Does not take down anyone. Meanwhile, Jake's blade takes down Mangachu.
Jake with the last moment Dragon Blade as LG Evil desperately trying to struggle and at least make this map a draw. 20 seconds left remaining. And the good thing here for Renegades Hex is that even if LG Evil gets to the very end here, it's going to be difficult for them because if there's no time left on the clock, Renegades is the only team with the ability to finish out the map. So LG Evil trying to get through here at the last moment. Juvenile holding on to the Earth Shatter. Time starting to leave the map. And Juvenile just drops right to the back. Doesn't get anything off that Earth Shatter. As the counter Graviton comes in here from Vol, pulls in 3, and LG Evil is right there with the follow-through. This payload might be reaching its final destination yet.
A Soundbird comes in to try to close it out. It has been all LG Evil in the kill feed here. A Dragon Blade will come back out to try to close out this map. They will end up getting the cart to its beautiful parking spot. VIP parking. The valet of the Overwatch team puts it where it needs to be. However, that was all the way in overtime.
The problem is that because that was late, LG Evil does not get another attack here. That's it. They're done. Because Renegades had over 1 minute and 1 second left, Renegades now gets 3 whole minutes to punch this in, take point A, and take the first map.
Going to be difficult. Of course, I'm a man who likes defense, regardless of the sport. This would be a pretty staunch defense here. 3 minutes is rough. That is at least 3 good pushes on Hollywood if the fights are decisive, if the engagements are quick enough. And it is difficult for LG Evil, despite having come alive a little bit there. I mentioned LG Evil is a team that starts slow. Looks like about halfway through the map, they started to pick it up a bit. And still, they had to spend a lot to try to dislodge Mangachu. Mangachu is definitely getting the Jake treatment. This is the composition that LG Evil has run more than any other team. 1 DPS, all the tanks help me out.
Well, if we do want to subscribe to the LG Evil starting slow narrative, we should see a better defense coming out from them here, if that is in fact true. Because their first defense here was very rough. They just got rolled over by Renegades coming up the back alley and beating them in every mechanical way possible. This time for LG Evil, slightly different defensive setup. We'll see if this works out for them.
Well, LG Evil has given up on the Torb. Sorry, Swedish people everywhere. Your character is not going to be run on defense here. But it didn't work out for them well at all. We'll see if Renegades sees that right away. They do, so they're just going to walk in up front rather than going around the side. Very decisive engagement.
Renegades just throwing their bodies onto a point because they have the time difference to do so, but doesn't work out well. Juvenile gives his life immediately here. Sammy pretty low. Renegades still all in on this dive, but LG Evil is handling this far better here. You take a look at the life bars on the top. LG Evil very healthy, and they're going to clean this up with ease, so it is a much better early defense from LG Evil, but also from Renegades, they just kind of threw themselves on that. There was no subtlety.
Not at all. It just seemed like, guys, we have 3 minutes. Let's go win this. Let's get some kills. And not necessarily the coordination or the plan that they had the first time around, which seemed to work out much better for them. Of course, that was against a turret defense, not this defense. But they ended up giving a lot of good charge to LG Evil, who got the bulk of that fight in their favor. Again, they're going right in here, being very aggressive.
And LG Evil having a harder time dealing with it this time. They lose a boss early on. Juvenile able to swing the hammer to grab that, but Super and Vol counter diving. Super actually a big part here, getting well supported. He does lose support towards the very end and falls. It's back and forth, but Renegades bloodying LG Evil a little bit more here with about as blunt of a dive as you get.
A little bit more, but Jake staying alive is absolutely crucial for them too, and now they will have the ultimate advantage for certain. It's going to matter how they handle this economy. I'm of the position that you don't want to use Grav and Tact Visor in the same push.
You don't want to use them both at the same time, and now let's take a look at how Vol sets up this Graviton. He's coming in from the flank, and he could have great Graviton placement here. Drops the Graviton in the back, and doesn't get anything.
Okay.
Graviton was very much not what he was looking for, but LG Evil could still win this fight. But there's the Earth Shatter coming in from Juvenile. Knocks down 2. It's going to be up to Jake to pull this one back as Attack Visor comes in over the top of the cafe, but utterly denied by the defensive matrix in his face.
Jake had to dive into a Diva and a Reinhardt. Not ideal circumstances for a Tactical Visor, to say the least. Speaking of Tactical Visors, Mangachu could pop his just for glory here on the cleanup. They've gotten all the kills. Again, they only need to capture this first point. It will take a miracle for LG Evil to get back on here and stall this out.
Well, it is down to the last moment here. Can they stall it out? It's barely a tick left here for Renegades to win this map outright. Here comes the sound bear from LG Evil as they flood back onto this point, but they get pulled into that Graviton from the side of Sadie, and Renegades doing their best to just throw remaining defenders off the point. It's a last gasp from LG Evil, a more convincing one, but they're not picking up any kills right now, Max.
It's actually a pretty good job of LG Evil so far to get back on the point at the very least. They did get all 6 people out here in pretty quick fashion. The Pulse Bomb does look for purchase, unable to pick up a kill though, and now the ultimate is still coming out for Renegades. It has been all red in that kill feed. Jake will make a brief amendment to that, but he gives his life for it. That is Renegades taking Hollywood against Luminosity Gaming Evil.
Much stronger showing here for Renegades compared to when we saw them last week. Although I gotta say, is a recurring trend right now in the Overwatch scene, if you go back to the Overwatch monthly melee that happened this weekend, if Vol's Gravitons were a company, if they were a stock, I would not be investing in that stock right now because you have a Graviton that effectively hits nothing there towards the end, and to the weekend you had Reflected Gravs, Eden Gravs. Something is off in how LG Evil is playing with their Gravitons right now. I don't know if it's just Vol or when it's being called for, but it's been a little bit difficult, and it definitely hurt them in holding on to the point there.
It definitely says a lot that of his last 5 Gravitons, the one we just saw in Hollywood was his best one, because it actually existed. Even though it got 0 people, but it existed at least.
It existed for his side as well.
It didn't hurt his team actively or serve as a tasty meal for a Diva.
Exactly.
No, speaking of Diva, I mean, based on what I've been seeing on the internet, it seems like Diva is kind of not really good right now.
Totally. Don't
really
run it.
just bad. Don't play Diva. But no, I mean, we saw some nuts Diva. Initially, we saw Jesus playing that Diva, and he had, I think, 3 or 4 just amazing. Here's one of them right here. Well-placed ults, and I guess
This
how
is
does
the one.
Here we go.
Yeah, this one's beautiful
Right
right behind.
behind the
Because Super can't
shields.
turn around. He dies if he turns around too.
But here's the thing, though. That's very good coordination coming out between Saini, who's new to the team, so that in and of itself is interesting, and Jesus there, because there's 2 parts to that. One is that you have to know when you're going to land the Graviton, but the Diva has to start the self-destruct a little bit before. So Saini is going in saying, I'm looking for the Graviton, and Jesus then is setting up the right lob angle that's going to go a little bit behind it. So it's very good aiming coming out from Jesus, but also just good teamwork between Zarya and Diva there, which was clearly catching LG Evil off guard.
Yeah, is there something about that Streets phase, by the way, that enables Diva players and teams that are able to put together set plays like that, other than compared to other maps and points?
A lot of it is the verticality of it. When Hollywood was introduced, it was the most vertical map that we had seen in Overwatch so far. So the skybox is way up there, and then you've got these buildings around too that you don't know exactly where it's coming from, because usually you're popping it over a corner. The buildings also serve as a compass for the Diva to line up her bombs and know where they're going to land. So that's always been a stage where they don't know where it's coming from. They know it's somewhere, and then people practice that stage in the self-destructs a lot more because the vertical launch is a lot higher.
And I think reason why we're seeing a little bit more Diva compared to if you take a look at just a few weeks ago where Diva was practically an endangered species is that people do realize that, hey, nerfs or no nerfs, Diva is still very good for interrupting dive, for protecting key targets. Defensive Diva, rather than absolutely diving in, has probably been seeing the most increase in play and just using it to keep key targets alive, where you take a look at some of the dives in the cafe where you'd see a defensive Diva actually just stop the dive from getting what it's looking for. I think teams are giving Diva more of a second shot.
Yeah, we saw a great defense matrix there at the end to stop the ultimate there from 76, and it completely shut down the last hope that LGE had to retake that defensive posture. Well, you know what? They have selected our next map, and we saw Hanamura for the first time around for Assault. We're going back to good old Temple of Anubis. Talking about maps with verticality, this is something we've seen quite a few Pharahs on. We didn't see it there that first time. Part 2, do we see it on the second map?
It's very difficult to predict right now. I actually think Renegades is running a different style, because Renegades last time, and you talked about this a lot too, that Mangachu gets too much support to help other people.
Yes.
And it always hurt the Genji play, especially when Saipe was on the team. And I think you have 2 answers to that. Either Mangachu gets less support, or Mangachu gets all the support. And that's what's happening here. Everyone's going on the tanks. Again, it is the LG Evil method of protect Jake. Jake will carry us there. That's exactly what happened there. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Mangachu on a hit scan or something like that, which is a lot easier for tanks to protect on the support. This was LG Evil's map pick. It's a little surprising. They've lost 5 total maps in all of Carbon Series. 3 of them have been on Temple of Anubis.
Yeah, no, it definitely is curious. One thing that we haven't talked about much that I'm going to be watching this time around is going to be this Super Juvenile matchup, because it's definitely been hotly contested. Super, I think he was actually maybe one of the strengths coming out in this match. The few times that they won fights, he was up front swinging his hammer, getting off good Earth Shatters. And on the other side, Juvenile, he struggled with his Earth Shatters. His first one completely went right into his shield. And then he had that 4-man Earth Shatter that they were just not ready for. They had already lost a couple members. So we'll see. I mean, I guess, what are your thoughts on that?
Well,
there,
Juvenile, clearly, by comparison, though, that Reinhardt's has way more peaks and way more valleys in Reinhardt play, because he goes for the bigger play Earth Shatters. Unfortunately, if you're going for those bigger play Earth Shatters, you have more of a window of the other Rein blocking them. They're riskier by nature, otherwise every Reinhardt would be getting them. So that to me is more just standard Juvenile play, where he's either going to win big or lose hard. He doesn't have a whole lot of in between.
Yeah, we all want to hit those 6-man Earth Shatters, okay? I feel you, Juvenile. I feel you. But with the margins in these plays, you need to, maybe rein it in a little bit. I don't want to say unbind, because you certainly have some great plays. But we're going to see both of them duking it out here on Temple of Anubis, map number 2, and LG Evil. They've only been behind a couple of times in this event, and they remain undefeated. Is Renegades going to be the poison that finally brings LG Evil down? Well, another step in that is going to be this map.
Well, I talked about LG Evil having a losing record on this map, but I have some bad news for people who do not like draws. Renegades has tied 4 times on Temple of Anubis. They do not necessarily know how to finish this. They've also won twice and lost once.
Also, the statistic for LG Evil is a little bit misleading in the sense that they did start out almost clueless on assault maps, but they've definitely improved significantly. They had a much better showing even this last weekend, so I do think they've figured out assault a little bit more. Now that I've put that out there, I'm going to probably watch them get steamrolled by Renegades. We'll have to see, but it is interesting for Renegades and how they're playing this, where they are bringing out the defensive Symmetra.
The result has looked a lot better, actually. Mostly their offense on Assault has been Electric Cowboy, and it's been extremely fun to watch. That would be Jake on McCree getting supported by his entire team, getting boosted at the end, and Flash banging shields. They will not run this on their first attack, a little bit of a variation, as Jake will take up the Genji instead, and supported by several tanks.
LG Evil right now, they have one path that they like taking, which is they go directly to the right and get into the high ground. They like forcing fights into that tight corridor, and for now, they might get that fight. Renegades, they'll be their Huckleberry as they move in. This could be very disastrous. Usually LG Evil is able to win in these tight quarters fights. It's especially, but this time might not be going in their favor. Vol dying early. Mangachu well supported by that diva play of Sadie, or diva play of Jesus rather, and it's going to work out for Renegades. They actually take LG Evil out of the room, and we haven't seen teams do that to LG Evil all that often. Even teams like Rogue struggled versus LG Evil in close quarters.
The big component missing from that close quarters fight was Super, who died right away, and he's been a room clearer since day one for this Hammers now LG Evil squad. He's been the mascot of this team swinging through, and in a close quarter fight, you can have no better DPS than a Reinhardt swinging through people trying to come up the stairs. So Juvenile will drop down, try to take him down. They will make sure that Super does not die again first this time. He gets knocked down and charged, still alive because of that damage resistance.
Well, he does get thrown to the ground and finally eliminated as Renegades. Their counter dive doesn't let LG Evil get comfortable. Jake pulls out a late fight Dragon Blade, but he's doing this into a situation where he's down a whole lot of teammates, and the Blade doesn't do as much as he might want as he's going to get taken down this room.
This strategy works better against teams without a Reinhardt, though. We've seen them run it against them because the Hammer's going to win.
Well, I think the bigger difference here is the defensive diva. I think that's actually what is causing the difference here, where LG Evil, they have a diva of their own, but Jesus is creating enough disruption here that Renegades is able to stay alive in those fights in the backline. Most teams don't run a defensive diva, so LG Evil is free to do way more damage in those tight quarters, but Jesus is really ruining their day.
Well, they give up a lot of ground and let LG Evil come right on to the point. Now they will all come out of their hidey holes and come back in here. Jesus takes down Rob immediately. It's such a big part of this LG Evil team. Juvenile took a nap, not woken up, now woken up and angry, swinging the hammer, and they will evict LG Evil from the point yet again, not without giving up a tick, though.
This has been very dominant by Renegades, and I think clearly they had to have watched some game tape on LG Evil, because their ability to deny LG Evil from getting into their safe spot here in Temple Nubis, where they like coming in to the right, it's been very good, and I think the defensive diva has been absolutely key. It's been great play coming out here by Jesus. And now Sadie has defensive graviton. He's going to use that immediately. And look at this self-destruct combo into the back line. It's another two. Such good coordination between Jesus and Sadie that has really thrown LG Evil for a loop.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I think we've called it the bigger bang combo before. We'll call it whatever you want. And you can't blame Super for that. Do you want him to block the bomb? Fine, you're all going to get shot in the back. You want him to block all the bullets? You're going to die to the bomb. It's an impossible situation to defend against.
The other thing, too, you think back to when teams like Complexity were running this all the time. It's a set bomb. They have clearly practiced this. They're doing it with far too much consistency for this to be a spur-of-the-moment thing. So this was Renegade's homework, and it's been working out. Earth Shatter coming in from Juvenile, knocks down 3. LG Evil just getting blown up from all directions, all angles, all ultimates right now. The only thing that works in their favor, as they're down to their last 30 seconds, is they do have an ult advantage going to this last fight. We'll see what Vol can do to set them up.
Well, kill cams are off, otherwise maybe they would have noticed Mangachu's been sitting on that perch just pelting people to death for a very long time. Mangachu will have the tactical visor and nano boost ready. They do see him up there. That should be Jake's top priority. That is.
Jake moving to the top of the Graviton, catching 4 members there. It's a nice Graviton by Vol, but Jake wasn't trying to clean up on that immediately. Does find Mangachu, who maybe was the main target, and he gets 2. So it's still working out here for LG Evil. As they move in, they're going to get 4 kills, and it works out in the very end. They will get point A, but it took every last ultimate they had and a final push to do it.
Not every last ultimate. Super is wanting to get here right away. Does start putting progress on the point already, and he's got Earth Shatter up. That is the last ultimate they have. May is going to try to come in, but now he knows the angle. They're coming in left side. Probably could use an Earth Shatter over there, knowing that the Zarya bubbles are down. Still holding onto this, gets dislodged by the wall. Will solo ult that May. I know that feel.
Well, you've gotten rid of the prime evil, let me just tell you that. And Negachu out of this fight, and LG Evil still have plenty of people alive and in this fight, but they're very spread out. They're not really coalescing on the point right now. But here comes defensive ground sound out here from Sandy. Gonna pull in 4, fall through, not there, and there's the sound barrier from LG Evil. They're piling on the pressure here on second.
Well, a nice wall will keep May alive in the corner, contesting this. Still have not gotten a tick just yet. JCat Dragon Blade out, got a couple down. Now they have achieved 1 tick as they continue to bully off the defense on this point. Sherlocki finds himself sleeping at his own accord. Do not self-medicate, kids.
And now, for LG Evil, still with a dominant presence on this point. It hasn't been enough for Renegades to try and push him out. The stagger has been weak. They've been getting killed just about every time. And overall, LG Evil very close to getting that second tick. Graviton coming out here from Volk, gonna clean up another 4 kills as Renegades down to their last 2 players trying to stand this point. This is almost there for LG Evil, and what a turnaround it would be.
Secondary tick already there. They're very close to completing this. Self-destruct will come on the point and force people off of it. Still the contention comes in, not cleaning up all of this right away. The wall goes off in the corner. It has been all them in the kill feed. A charge comes in, puts him in bad position.
And that's gonna be it. That was the last hope, was Juvenile charging in. Perhaps he was gonna try and get a little bit of Kaiser in him with the crazy Reinhardt corner shenanigans, but was not to be. And for LG Evil, that's quite a recovery after what was a very tough beginning. I will say though, Renegades, I very much like the defensive diva, at least on first. It made things so tough for LG Evil's attacking plans.
LG Evil's attacking plans definitely is a little different against teams that run more than just a Winston is when they've had success on it. The teams that are running the divecom defense struggle with that rotation up through top, but teams with a beefier front line able to do a lot there. And LG Evil, Overwatch is overall a momentum-based game. That's how the mechanics work. Assault, overall, a momentum-based game mode. But LG Evil is a team that you do not want to start getting momentum to. They have that odd switch that they turn on that if you keep them quiet all night, you can do good things against them. Once they get rolling, it is something intangible about this team that is difficult to stop.
So, LG Evil still with hope here on Temple Anubis, but we'll see what Renegades offense is going to have in store for us here. It is an interesting switch up here where Renegades, almost in defiance of conventional wisdom, not really looking like they want to run a Pharah. Like I said, I do wonder if this is a point of pride for Mangachu, or perhaps just a point of focus in wanting to bring a 76 game up. It does appear, though, like Renegade's focus over the weekend was not so much on Pharah, but now running more traditional team comps, I suppose.
I do believe that they have prepared a lot over the weekends. They didn't have a tournament necessarily to go to, and there were a lot of questions about this team, but just looking at the rollouts that they've had, they've clearly been watching game tape. They've been preparing. This is a much more prepared team. They had to forget their last showing at OCS. It seems that they've done that. And Mangachu, he was subpar on the Soldier 76. Maybe that was the support he was getting. Maybe that's why they're running all the tanks they are around him. But so far, it's worked out for Renegades.
Well, Renegades is going to be coming in with hardly something that could be considered a dive offense. Much more stable, much more ground and pound coming out here from Renegades. And so is LG Evil, as Diva very much in play for both of these teams. It is a good old-fashioned shield war here as Renegades tries to take control of this early high ground. They're just going to push right through. They are bullying, but Juvenile dies early on, so the still could very much turn the other way.
Well, meanwhile, they have desuited Jake, so still back and forth right now. Sandy goes down, Jake goes down, Jared goes down, alternating red and blue in the kill feed. Still a brawl here as Mangachu's able to take down a Avast. If Mangachu can finish some of these kills, they're going to be in good position. Has to wait for the purple to wear off of his life so he can be healed. Does end up eating Super's hammer as he finds him around the corner. This should lead to a small stabilization in the offense, but they're still pushing this. Respawn's coming in.
Reinhardt's a bad loser at hide and seek, let me tell you. He got found, swung the hammer, took down Mangachu. But overall, the respawns are coming from Renegades. They traded out efficiently enough that they should be able to get this point A very, very quickly. Certainly faster than what LG Evil did. Second question will be is that, are they going to be able to translate moment? But hold the phone, LG Evil coming back in. Mangachu gets caught out early on, and that could shift this back to LG Evil. Mangachu wasn't near his support that time, so that's why he got picked off. and LG Evil going to take clear advantage.
At the very least, they're forcing them to burn ults, and beyond that, they are killing the people who the ults are on. Sani got boosted and then absolutely deleted from the map. Yes, they gave up 2 ticks, but they're going to stagger Jesus here. He's not going to be able to rejoin his team for the next fight, so they will solidify on defense finally. There's some nice stall there from Train coming in on the D.Va, allowing his team to get in, and now we've got LG Evil. Yes, they gave up 2 ticks, but still alive here on defense first point.
Well, not only is it nice delay, but now you take a look at this right now. LG Evil actually is in a great ultimate position to win the next fight, which could end up equalizing things time-wise between the two teams and how they took point A. So it's a big sort of giveaway there for Renegades that they let that happen. They're going to be coming back in. They have a graviton. Let's see what Sadie does to set this up. You have Jake in the back here with the attack visor. And there's a graviton coming in. Gonna put up 3. And here comes the self-destruct in over the top, but it's late. It's not as well timed as it was in the past, but still grabs 1. Even fight here so far, but LG Evil pulling this back with attack visor.
Attack visor is very nice as they equalize. Lucio's going down. Jesus tries to get in here, gets demeched immediately. Mangachu very likely will just be trying to get out. Yeah, no need to pop that visor. No need to get out even, apparently, as he goes down late in that fight. And you're right, the defense that they had on first point to bring it back was so crucial for them because Renegades used so many ults to try to secure that first point once the stall came in. However, now the ult economy has swung around a little bit. The big ult coming up for Evil, though, is Graviton.
Well, this is where Renegades letting off the gas on first before has cost them about 2 minutes. That pickoff for Mangachu was too far out, coming back to haunt them. Now they're going to have to invest 3 ultimates here just to grab point A. They're going to move in. Nanovisor certainly on the menu with the sound barrier. He's going to be decisive from Renegades as they roll in. But look at Volt. He's holding on to his defensive graviton. He's going to drop that and pull them all together. 4 people together here, and LG Evil swarming after the graviton. But very close fight here between ults as they get used. LG Evil coming a little bit ahead. The attack visor from Renegades potentially not enough here.
Rob420, my MVP there, drops a giant nade onto that Graviton late into it, allowing no healing to go onto the team, and now the cleanup was a lot easier. They do have to hold a little further back because they lost a lot of bodies in that fight to LG Evil. Sensing this, Renegades is going to rotate up top. They do have an Earthshatter from Juvenile. They've been missed so far, but we know they can be hit at any time. Mangachu takes on his opposing number. That's huge.
That is very big here as LG Evil. They can't really give up much of the point. They've already lost 2 ticks, so they have to invest people on the point. That person's going to be super as he's getting buddy blasted to the bottom there. Let's Jesus get back into his mech. As both teams here still fighting the point. LG Evil's trying to reinforce, but it is going from bad to worse. Juvenile swing the hammer, clearing out the last few people on the point who cannot leave for any reason, or the point will flip. That's gonna be an extra 2 kills here, and Renegades actually taking longer to get first after what was looking like they might have gotten it very quickly. So big turnaround here. We'll see if Renegades can channel some of LG Evil's momentum as they go to the second.
The same setup as before. The Reinhardt will lead the way, charging in onto the point. Jesus looking for a setup for the self-destruct perhaps, but it's also more beneficial for him to stay in the mech at certain times here too. The self-destruct would be great to push people off the point, but so far no progress. It's been 100% contested. Vol still has Graviton. There comes a Graviton from Sadie.
Graviton comes in, self-destruct in the back, takes down D.Va. D.Va on D.Va action here, but LG Evil still pressing onto this point. Good, taking down 4.
Yeah.
And they're going to hold.
They used everything, unfortunately, there. They did not want to get snowballed over. They had some ultimates to use, and they used them. Now it seems like they may want to... No, not going all the way back to spawn. No readjustments so far. Here's an adjustment we've been seeing a lot of lately. I think I like the Sombra more in the defense than you, but I think the level of Sombra play we've seen over the last several days has improved as well.
The Sombra is fine, but I would have liked them switching to it when they had an ace in their hole in terms of defensive ultimates here, because Sombra is going to have to do this mostly in combat. She doesn't have an EMP yet, and no one else on LG Evil has anything to win this off ults alone, so I'm not sure I'm convinced of the right time to switch here. I think it can be very good if you chain the ult economy in turn, but we'll see what Jake does here as he harasses to the back, but he's out of the fight as it begins. Opportunity here for Renegades.
Mangachu looking for targets, a lot of it getting eaten by a D.Va defense matrix. He does bully his way through the shield, but it's too late. No kill so far for Mangachu. He does find one eventually. His super goes down, but Juvenile has gone down on the other side. He does find a very sneaky Sombra, but no healing for him as all the packs have been hacked. He's going to have to rely on his healers. Down to 50, is going to get healed up, pushed into the corner. Mangachu's wild ride here.
Well, here's a Graviton coming in from Bull. That's going to pull in 3. The fall through, not there immediately, but Train into the back. Going to pick up 2. And that is going to be a hold here from LG Evil. And now they can start chaining ult economy. They have the EMP up for the next fight. That's going to give them time to build things up. And oh no,
nice.
Here comes the stagger. Sleeping Diva, the journey.
She's gonna get charged
the charge.
too. Yeah. Oh, wow, that was a horrifying scream.
That is Diva in a terrible situation. And I think Super was actually trying not to charge her into a wall. It was
Right,
sort of-
you're trying to avoid the walls, yeah.
If it was a racing game, Super would have failed, but tried his best.
That was horrifying. Jake's gonna have the EMP. EMP and self-destruct can be great. What you're seeing here over the last several days, Jake's not the only one who's run it, but a much safer Sombra than we're used to. They only want to harass. The only reason they're even in the backline at all is to do damage. The only thing they want is EMP and packs.
Here's the thing for Jake right now. His goal should not be doing that much damage in the backline. He just needs to stay alive for EMP. If he was picked off without using EMP, it would be a disaster. So he can just sit here in the back and look for the EMP to stagger this out. There's the Earth Shatter. This is going to be a great EMP in over the top. Prevents a lot of the fall through from that Earth Shatter. Jake is going to fall for it, but it sets up trade nicely for the self-destruct into the back.
You don't necessarily expect to live through that as a Sombra as you put yourself right into the middle of the Hornet's Nest, but job accomplished. Everyone should be looking to heal up on packs if at all possible now so Jake can get his going. And also, what I really love about it is the secondary nature of it. There's a lot of times where the offensive flankers, you lose a couple supports and you're reliant on that big pack below. It's one of the easier packs in the game to take, and to deny that to the other team is huge.
Nice see for Jake. Getting a little bit poke into the back, wants to build the EMP, so it's up for not this fight, but the fight after the next. This fight gonna be much more reliant on Sound Bear, which is completely fine. This is the alt economy chaining that you're going for.
Nice throw, Jake.
Yeah, that. The reason why he teleported to immediately is he just wants to cool down to be off quicker. That was it.
Well, that's going to be on cooldown. They do let them come in over here. Another set play here as the self-destruct comes in. Over top, Jesus gets two.
Nice ground on by Sadie to set that up. 4 flawless kills here from Renegades, make it 5. And Jake, one of the last ones up in the fight, but very little a single Sombra without EMP can do. 2 ticks, soon to be 3. And Renegades gonna be pulling this back. We're going to extra rounds here on Anubis.
Well, Saini does have Genji in his pool. So far, hasn't needed to use it. His Zarya has been great. The coordination to have someone on this team who's just stepped onto the roster to work this well with Jesus, who doesn't play Diva all that often, it's been impressive. That's been their bread and butter.
Well, we get the reverse scenario here where Renegades does not finish that out in time. Time ran out during that final attack, so they don't get an attack at all here. Renegades' best case scenario is a gutsy hold on first that forces a tiebreaker later on in the set. LG Evil, big opportunity here to even things up with a good attack on the point A. Now, I will say this, based on what we saw the last time, I would hope that LG Evil would not go in and try and take the right side. I mean, it could still work, but it did seem like Renegades was very much keyed in on that. I'd like to see just something different coming out here from LG Evil.
You only have the advantage when you're fighting in small rooms if you have the tank advantage for the most part, which is why we see so many tanks in server room on Gibraltar per se, or areas like Dorado. First Arch as well, but when you're at even tank numbers, you're not going to be able to bully your way into that room as they've done to teams that are only running a Winston per se, as we've seen dive defenses be very popular here on Anubis. Regardless, compositions seem to be pretty mirrored up here. If I do look left and right, yep, mirrored on both sides here. This seems to be the composition they like running on Anubis. 2 minutes left for LG Evil to take first point and the map. If they fail to do so, we will have a draw and continue on in our series.
So LG Evil showing a change here, for better or for worse. They're going into the left this time. They're not going for the high ground. They're going to try their luck in a different room. We'll see if it works out for them. Renegades not wasting any time counter diving in with the Diva of their own, but Train gets a better Juvenile early on. 2 kills here from LG Evil, and the change in scenery has helped them out here significantly as Renegades not having more trouble actually dominating this room fight.
Well, they got a couple kills. I don't know why they keep coming back into this room. There's no point. Just rotate around left. It's just been a death ball for them as Sandy's been knocking giant right clicks in there. They will eventually bully them out, but a risky maneuver to poke back into that room. Juvenile is going to rejoin the fray. He was the first to die last time, so first one up in this spawn. Jake hitting a little fire over top. There is no time to hold anything here. 1 tick already given up. 2 ticks for free, and this is time to fight for Renegades, no longer in a position to hold anything.
No, not in the least as Jake busts out the tack visor, and that's going to be, to some extent, well, it's the final point here, so it's not very good for them at all, as he's going to clean up the last little bit. They don't have to worry about a point B. LG Evil all in on this, final point taken, and that is going to be LG Evil finishing out Anubis and evening up the set 1-1.
It worries me when teams let LG Evil back into things. The only way to slow them down is to never let them get going. There's some sort of physics laws around there, but like I said, I can barely read. I didn't pass high school physics. There's some law about motion and getting in motion, inertia, I don't know.
On some level, Renegades has to feel bad about letting LG Evil back into this because they were very close to getting that first point hold to begin with. They had LG Evil completely off guard, and then not only do they give it up in the final push, but they just get whopped on second immediately after. And then they give LG Evil enough breathing room for them to adjust, go in through the left instead of the right, and it didn't seem to be as game planned for by Renegades, so it's a better adjustment by LG Evil that wins in the map.
It's such a razor's edge of a difference because they're running mirror compositions, right? And the biggest difference I saw in that first fight was that they shielded Juvenile before he charged. And that seems minimal, right? But Super had already gone in and was getting to low health. Then he got the shield. That's why Juvenile fell, Super did not, and that was the big advantage they have fighting in those close quarters.
And going back to the early part, because that's definitely how that last fight went down. I do want to give Juvenile some props because I threw down the gauntlet personally, and he picked it up in the first round. Didn't necessarily pick it up in the end there, but he actually played pretty strong. But my question coming out of this one is, Temple of Anubis is not the strong point of this LG Evil. And so the fact that they came out in a pretty close matchup, 3-2 in extra rounds, especially after struggling so much on first, has the beast awakened? And what does a 3-2 score mean coming into a control point map for this LG Evil?
Well, LG Evil, their comfort zone is on control. It is where they are very, very good. They're able to punch above their weight class on control maps. So I think it's going to be very difficult for Renegades to come back in here. And credit where credit is due for LG Evil, even though it was a very painful start that almost blew up in their face, they have dramatically improved their assault play over time. It didn't look like that in the beginning, but if you track them, they used to have no idea what to do in assault, but now they've just been able to make small improvements here and there, have better engagements, and play the map better. So it's worked out in their favor. And now I think we're very likely to go into map number 4 here after map number 3 with a 2-1 advantage to LG Evil.
Very possible, but Renegades also no slouch on control. I believe they're 9-1 in this series, in this tournament in particular on control. Their one loss being Nepal. Also, LG Evil has lost a control map that was also Nepal, so we're going to head to Nepal.
There is one interesting caveat here, where there was one notable game between LG Evil and Renegades where it was control and LG Evil lost to Renegades, and that was the match where we just saw Farah do whatever she wanted. I think it was in the Overwatch Monthly Melee, not the last one, but the one before last, where it was just confusing. So we haven't been seeing a whole lot of Farah from Renegades here tonight, but if they think back to their last, or one of their last experiences with LG Evil, I do wonder if they would pull out the Farah going into this next map.
Yeah, part of me really wants to see that, especially because Jake has had some strong showings, not in the last couple of weeks. He's also played McCree, so we could see some interesting matchups, maybe mirror, maybe potentially not. But we are going on to Nepal, interestingly enough, as you talked a little bit about statistics. Control point maps, we've seen the gamut of a wide variety of them. But how are we feeling about Nepal? Is this a map that we think LG Evil? Well, I guess who do we think has an advantage coming into this one?
I remember specifically the map you're talking about, and it was on Nepal. And the most frustrating thing about it was that LG Evil refused to switch to anything to deal with it. They just let Mangachu do whatever he wanted, and it was extremely frustrating. And if we remember, you have to think that Renegades remembers it, so they will run the Farah. You would think, unless Mangachu is simply out to prove a point tonight on his Soldier 76, but I would also just give the edge to Renegades because of that. Now, where I tilt it the other side is Nepal also has Sanctum, which is stair fights. And so far, the stair fights with Super and his Zarya versus Juvenile and his Zarya have gone the way of LG Evil. And those are pivotal fights to take the first control of the point, which is so crucial in King of the Hill, or control, as we like to call it. So very difficult to judge on both sides. I think that each team has something going for it depending on stages. If we end up getting into 4th and 5th stages, it could be up to the RNG gods.
Well, what I'm hoping for here is that we have seen times in recent memory where Jake has been more open to running the McCree. I really do hope they just take a page out of the Rogue playbook. The last time we saw Rogue and Renegades face off in this sort of setup, and if they do go with the Farah, just please run McCree and Ana and have them focus down Mangachu immediately, force him off of it. That was the playbook that was set, and very few teams when going against Renegades, when they run the Farah, have actually gone towards that in recent times.
Yeah, and Train has been playing Diva. We've been seeing a lot more Diva today, in fact, from both sides, and they've utilized that differently than we've seen it. I mean, it hasn't been about the combos; it's been about protecting that McCree, and we have seen it on this map itself. And so, I mean, I definitely am hoping to see that. But then again, Mangachu has been playing a lot of 76. Whether or not he has something to prove, he has been, well, he's been proving a few things. As we're going into Nepal, Renegades, they were able to pick up map number 1, but LG Evil has brought it back, coming into map number 3, and it's 1-1 in the series. A lot is on the line, especially for Renegades, as they're going to be fighting back here on Nepal.
You know, I noticed some of your camera work over the weekend there, ZP, that you tried to see the bottom of the Sanctum pit. Was there a bottom?
I'm not sure there's a bottom, but really I was just out looking for gold. We all know that Mondada had a secret gold cache there, and that's why he had to be taken out. Don't believe all the hype that he was some spiritual leader. There is a vast conspiracy going on.
Were they Spanish bullion or South African cougaron? What kind of gold coins are we looking for?
Vintage Omnic 2047.
Ah, all right. I was way off. All right, Mangachu proving a point tonight that he can run Soldier 76 with the best of them, trying to prove it even harder here. No Farah's in sight. Mirror match on the way.
I do think Mangachu is out to prove a point tonight.
Yes.
For this radical shift in just not running Farah, perhaps not liking how gimmicky they might have thought it was, but both teams right now trading up poke, neither with a significant advantage here as both Reinhardt charges going to miss the mark. It is very much a battle of shields here between both teams, almost resembling old school 4-tank, but Juvenile gonna be first to fall, and this can snowball pretty rapidly when you lose that early source of shielding. Gonna mean Jake has way more targets to hit, and should let LG Evil perhaps start pushing on this point as they still have a full 6.
Well, Jake does have Tactical Visor up, and Train will equalize things, taking out Sandy. That means that no more Zarya for them. That is a very charged up Zarya on the side of LG Evil. They are trying to get through. Mangachu did pop Tactical Visor, got nothing out of it as Jake is able to shut him down. Sans Visor fight completely in favor of LG Evil.
One thing that is a little bit worrisome here for Renegades is that they are effectively reawakening the old beast in LG Evil, where in LG Evil was doing well, it was tank versus tank fights, shield wars, and all the rest. Is this the fight you really want to bring to LG Evil over the course of a 5-game series?
No, I do not think so. I'm just trying to figure out who to blame for Mangachu on 76. If it's you for asking if he was a good 76, or if we're simply seeing the Defran effect of seeing how good a 76 can carry a team from that selfless squad. Regardless, we're going to get back to the fight. Sani does have Graviton at the ready. Got to be careful of the Diva. Will skirt the Diva. Grabs 4. Nice grab.
It's a good Graviton to set things up. Self-destruct the back. Goodbye. Good night. 3 taken down by Jesus. Very good coordination between Jesus and Sani once again, and this should earn Renegades the point.
It should. The tanks are fighting back, though. Vol gets a couple of kills. They are still on here with some tank numbers, but still should be getting off the point eventually. They're just trying to stall it out. You trade lives for percentage points on control maps like this. They do just that. They will round out at 50% here. Jesus on the chase, getting aggressive in Super's face. They're, you know, be aggressive, but not too aggressive. It's very difficult to be as aggressive as you'd like with all these tanks.
Well, LG Evil certainly going to be bringing this right back in a hurry. Tactical Visor not quite up here for Renegades. They would like to have that up for Nano Visor, but we've seen 5% be a big difference in the past. Jake looking for his opportunity. The window is closed. They're going to have to go against the Nano Visor of Mangachu, and here he goes. His Nano Visor's in. Jake getting bullied out a little bit as Mangachu picks up 2, now 3. LG Evil, they might not have known it, but they need to go in on that just a little bit quicker.
Well, Mangachu had the Nano and Jake only had the Visor. Not fair. His is cool and has glitter on it. So that is why they ended up winning that fight. Rob will be close to having his Nano Boost for the next fight, but Jake will be so far away that you can't imagine that would be the combination. Might go old-fashioned here, put it on Super. He's already got his Earth Shatter up, get some swing of the hammer, and Jesus will scout out the rotation from LG Evil as they try to come around over the top. Scores have been equalized here, 50% both sides.
Bull holding on to that Graviton. We'll see what he has to say here early on. Of course, does have to worry about Diva eating this, where you gotta think Jesus is looking for it. You have to be a little bit sneakier to deliver a Graviton in the sort of setup. And Bull has had a rough time. No, Bull! Again! The Graviton donated to the Diva buffet. Jesus stopping it in its tracks. And yet, LG Evil still pressing forward. They take down Juvenile. They still can turn this fight.
You just don't understand, ZP. It's a distraction, Graviton. The destructs will come in from both sides, get absolutely nothing, but Vol does take down Sani there. Jake with his visor now will clean up the remainder of this Renegades team.
Well, it's decisive, and it's the rest of the tanks having a very good setup there.
Just style points.
I'm
just
trying
look
to-
how good my team is. I don't even need this graph. Just take it.
I'm trying to focus on other things but Vol here, but over the last 3 days, what he has done to Gravitons, if Graviton was a cute, fluffy animal, PETA would be protesting.
Well, Vol does not cost his team anything. He's got 50% at his way towards redemption. Meanwhile, 90% nearly on the percentage for LG Evil. Another tactical visor with Nano Boost goes off on the side, not finding much, but it does push them all out, and now the kills are coming swiftly for Renegades as they've taken control of the point, and now it's going to be a difficult task for LG Evil to get back on here as they stagger Vol late.
Well, it is down to the wire, 91% to 91%, and you're right, getting onto the point and not having half your team be dead is going to be the challenge. Mangachu sitting here in the 76, looking to stop them in their tracks. Coming up here to the other side, 99%, and they do trigger overtime just barely. Mangachu gets caught out, doesn't have the support. Train gets in his face. 2 kills here from LG Evil, and this could be the turnabout they want. 3-1, 4-1, and Jesus gonna try to be the savior here as he gets the nano boost, moving in. But there's only so much one D.Va can do. He's going to go for a self-destruct, but he's very much outgunned.
Outgunned indeed. Vol does take down Jesus before he can remech as well, so that is a D.Va that's not going to be back into the fight. Jake is so close to another tactical visor. Forced to be on the point at 5v6 is Renegades now as they try to rotate over here. Tactical visor should be popped immediately as soon as Jake sees someone. He's got them in his sights, looking to close out this map.
Jake looking for anyone here with his sights. Does finally find someone, so he wasn't lying about having them in his sights. Gets one rather, and Super getting on the other as LG Evil just cleaning out the members of Renegades as they desperately trying down to that point, but they don't have many options left. It is a 2-man sound barrier. Jesus back in here with Jared, but they are horrifically outnumbered right now.
One of those people was a demeched D.Va, so very difficult to hold with that sound barrier. And Grav's overrated. It's so 2016 to hit your Gravitons.
I guess so. I feel like my reactions keep going more and more over the top the more that this streak of questionable Gravitons from Vol keep happening.
I was just sitting here with the this is fine dog face as the world burns around me.
I mean, it is a testament to the rest of LG Evil that they've won the fight regardless, but man.
It's rough. It's a theme. Like,
it has completely been a theme of the Gravitons we've seen on stream in the past 2 days featuring Vol.
He's about 0-6. It's been rough. He's going to have some good Gravitons in a row to redeem himself, but redemption story is some of the best part of sports. I'm into it. Jake is going to switch off his 76 now onto a Genji instead. He's the lone DPS for this LG Evil team. Mangachu will stay on the Genji. They've switched nothing in their composition. Juvenile will go for an early charge, gets the bubble. Here comes the fight.
We'll see if it's enough. He does live, at least for now. Still very low HP, backing up, but it's Sherlocky, keeping Juvenile nice and healthy. But Renegades getting pushed back about here. Both teams still reasonable health. The poke war still very much in progress between the two. An interesting note here is that it's Shield Wars sans Roadhog. We haven't touched on that too much, but there's no hook X factor to break it down. It really is who gets the shields first, but Juvenile catches Jake out of nowhere, smashing him against that wall. 5 versus 5 though, as LG Evil getting a moment to dive in deeper when Juvenile's out of the fight.
Vol has gotten some damage down. There goes Jur. There goes Sani as Vol does come alive on his Zarya. He's pretty good with primary fire. Gets himself a lot of Gravitons up as they will continue to try to pepper onto the point. First point will be taken by LG Evil. Look at this. Grab up. Earthshatter up. The tanks did yeoman's work.
Now in the sagas of Vol, Graviton Surge is up. Jesus still on D.Va. Where will this Graviton land? I'm probably not going to reaction if it gets Ian. I'm just going to be disappointed.
Yeah, GPU is just going to walk off set.
He's looking for the Graviton right now. Getting deep in behind. Did he throw the Graviton? Was it Eden?
I don't know.
It swapped target. I think it was Eden.
Yeah, he was right in the D.Va's keister there, and it did end up getting swapped out. I think we need production to confirm this for us. I want to put someone on blast for that, but it did. Regardless, 0 impact, if anything. I do think it was Tobolstein Eaton.
Well, we do have the Dragon Blade coming out here. Lane set fight from Jake. Still looking to keep this in for LG Evil. Finds Mangachu. Sprint not quite enough to get him away from that one. So, well, for LG Evil, at least they're proving one interesting fact. They don't need Gravitons to win fights.
I mean, all the stats would have you think that it's the most impactful ultimate in any team fight, but LG Evil bucking convention yet again. Sani's gonna be pushing the team out. He's got to grab up himself, has to be very careful of terrain. That's why he's been focusing him down. You can definitely de-mech, and there is a Graviton. Does grab 3, self-destruct in over the top.
Does not land there. The execution that time a little bit lacking from Renegades. And meanwhile, LG Evil still maintain control at this point. Renegades starting to cap it out here, but LG Evil has more people in and around the point. Super gonna drop the hammer. And here comes Mangachu, looking to clear out the point. Gets 2, looking for a little bit more. Everything in his sights as Renegades now much closer to grabbing this, though still Vol up and around.
I mean, I will give Vol credit despite of some of these Gravitons being absolutely lackluster, which is the kindest way to say it. He's been killing people with primary.
I think the more accurate word was non-existent.
Yes, you're correct. But one of them existed on Hollywood, he just didn't get anyone.
Well, here comes Vol. He's going to be looking for a Graviton again. And this time it's going to connect because there's no Diva in sight. Sets up Jake. 4 quick kills from LG Evil to finish out that point and prevent Renegades from even putting it into overtime.
Superior tank play there, just generally with not necessarily ultimates, but I thought Super played extremely well there, doing damage, as Super is wont to do. Vol, obviously, the Gravitons were not what you expect out of your Zarya, but it's, you know, trying to deal with the Diva meta as it can be difficult. He did redeem himself for me in the fact that he was getting kills otherwise. I mean, he did get Graviton up more often than not. You're right, you're absolutely right. But his primary play was good, and as was Train's. Train, I think all the tanks played well. I was going to give Vol a
compliment there and say, yes, for everything in Zarya that does not relate to not throwing a Graviton into the waiting mob of Diva, it was a better game. He was building Grav quickly, he was getting good contribution, getting good shields, but when you're going up against teams, they got away with it on the first 2 rounds, but you can't have that keep happening.
The waiting maw of a Diva. I love that term. Now I just want a Predator skin for Diva. The Defense Matrix kind of looks like an open mouth Predator. Regardless, Sani is going to switch onto the Genji for the first time this evening, and Mangachu doing the same onto Pharah, so prioritizing damage now, knowing that what they've tried to run the mirror on control, especially against LG Evil, has not worked. A nice concussion will reorient most of the team, now trying to chase down the soldier. So far, rather bloodless so far in this fight.
Well, for Renegades, this is definitely going back to what works out well for them, which is the Pharah, and can be a better swap-up, too, if the other team hasn't been dealing with it. So, 2 kills here from Renegades, certainly more men on the point. And we get to see a little bit of Sani's Genji action, which has been absent here thus far.
They did take out Sherlocki in that fight and had equalized things, so I was surprised they did not at least try to contest the point, as that was going to be a Pharah without the support she needs. Jesus will go down to Jake, who's now running the Soldier 76. Instead of the Genji, which he ran last round, Sani trying to get in there. Sani punished.
Sani getting taken down immediately. LG Evil retaking that with authority relatively quickly, no less. So back and forth here for both teams. Renegades will have some options going next one. Of course, Jesus now getting to be unleashed on his Tracer. And you know what this means here? No one can eat Gravitons, but I guess Sani can deflect, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, why you put that mojo on, my friend there. Well, they will grab this point back in short order as LG Evil already up 2-0 in this map. Mangachu comes up over the top. It's giant rockets. There's a barrage that lands entirely on Rob 420. Jake not long for this world. A bunch of ultimates used in the efforts to take back this point, and they will eventually do so.
Well, they're in a good spot for it. There are a few members of LG Evil left that can stall this out, but it's overwhelming for Renegades. It's a barrage that sets it up, and Mangachu's Pharah coming back with fury and style. We'll see what LG Evil does to respond here.
It was Barrage, Pulse Bomb, and Primal Rage all popped there. All of them got kills. The only ultimate now remaining for Renegades is Resurrection. Do not be surprised if that ends up being a one-man res if Mangachu goes down, or any of the DPS for that matter, as they like to keep their team at full fighting force. Still a little behind in this map percentage-wise, in the map stage-wise, down 2-0, but now switching things up. So far, no great answer to Mangachu has come on the field. They were just relying on Jake to do it.
Well, one good answer to it is Jake is going to have that Tactical Visor up in a moment. They lose Sherlock immediately, so no one can heal up Mangachu there. Tactical Visor, almost a bit of overkill as Jake just going to cleave through this back line of the Renegades. LG Evil retaking this point in a hurry and still proving to be strong here on control. Now, Vol is about to have a Graviton again. I just wonder where's Sani in the setup here, because I kind of want to flip a desk if the Graviton gets reflected. That's all. I've said my piece.
I will hold you to it. This is a heavy-looking desk. I want to see the Hawk strength come out.
Well, we'll see where Vol is right now. There's a Graviton, and it is a red Graviton, so it does connect. No deflection in place as Vol picks up 2. Resurrection gonna come in, but it's a much better start here for LG Evil. Soundbear gonna be coming in to support just a little bit more, and that's it after the res. Mangachu picks up 2. Plenty of room here onto the point to pile on just a little bit more. Takes down 3. And Renegades, much more competitive here at the Pharah, though. Their margin for error now gone. They do need to win the next fight decisively.
Maybe not ultra comfortable with the timings of Resurrection, as Super laid down an Earth Shatter into the post-resurrected team and got nothing out of it. They also got nothing out of their self-destruct, so they tried to regain their kills and ended up giving up ult economy advantage. There is a ton to work with for the side of Renegades as they try to steal a stage here. Next fight could very well determine the fate of this stage. Mangachu coming over the top. Barrage could be ready. Mangachu thinks better of it, gets back out of there. He does like to fire from ground level.
Now he's going to throw the Graviton or the Barrage, and it gets eaten by the defensive Matrix. Nothing happening there at all for Mangachu. D.Va with the immediate counters. Jake gets the fall through in onto the point. 3 kills on the way through, and that is beautiful from LG Evil. They counter the Barrage. They cut through the back line. And now Renegades struggling for their lives here. 80% for LG Evil. This is going to give Renegades another attempt to get back on here, but they do need to be swift in how they set this up.
It'll give them a shot. There is a Nano up too, and it's going to be interesting to see who they put it on. You could put it on Vol and expect to get another Graviton, essentially trading one ult for another as he's getting close himself. They do rotate very aggressively here. This is odd, but they pick up the first kill. Mangachu over the top though takes down Jake. That is the biggest threat to him. His other threat goes down too.
Mangachu, the skies are clear. Here come the Renegades. Mangachu opening the thing. There's a Graviton by Vol. That's a nice Graviton. Pulls in 3. Super. There for the follow through. A little bit of redemption for Vol, but it's a resurrection.
No, not even close.
Not even coming in. Soundbear in here from Renegades. They still have a demanding force here on the point. They take down 3, and they're going to recap. 94%. And this is going to be an awful stagger here for LG Evil. They lose Rob 420. 98%.
This is over.
This should be a hold for Renegades, and they might hold on. They're going to throw the self-destruct just for a little bit extra. Super almost made it to the party in time.
That was an interesting fight. I thought Mangachu actually mishandled that after taking Jake down and Rob down, and then go to the only place where people can kill you instead of just skirting the sides and shooting rockets in. Did not end up costing them the fight, though, as the rest of his team was in there to get a lot done. So far, the one switch that has made an impact on this map has been Mangachu switching over. And Saini is going to be on the D.Va instead, perhaps going back to Hunger. No, we'll go to Zarya. They will flip back to this. Perhaps they just wanted to gut it out there, and this might be the composition they prefer on this stage.
It is interesting here as we go into Sanctum again, because we have seen Pharah work out pretty well here. For Renegades, given what happened last time in Sanctum, I don't know why you don't roll the dice in the beginning and try and run the Pharah at least one more time, because LG Evil, they did okay versus it, but it wasn't as convincing as a response we like. But
No
either
joke,
way,
right?
we're going to a shield battle here, and this has been historically more of LG Evil specialties, so we'll see who comes out on top here as Jake. Laying in the damage from the backline. Will have a beautiful dash here if he goes for it. As Renegades, they try to take the initiative, but LG Evil withstanding pretty well here to start things out.
Is unseen in the backline is Jake, and he dash resets through both supports. He was trying to get their attention, patting them on the back. They had no awareness there. He dashes through, takes out both supports, and
it's a great flank by Jake, but you're right. People weren't focused. I think for Renegades, maybe they realized he was there and they figured, let's just try and win the frontal battle. Well, they weren't able to take it decisively, and it gave Jake plenty of room in the back to win that fight. And already, Renegades out on the back foot.
I feel like when I play Genji, I'm made of neon lights and buzzing horns, and Jake just in stealth mode there. Able to get a lot of work done. That's going to allow this very aggressive hold. Juvenile goes down to his counterpart in Super nearly immediately. A fully charged Vol is going to get in here, do a lot of damage. Means he will have Graviton up shortly. The Dragon Blade up too. This has been completely one-sided for LG Evil, and I don't know what Renegades nearly expected, as this is kind of what LG Evil did to them on this map earlier.
LG Evil are very good at close brawling situations. Here comes Jake. Dragon Blade out. Bull holding on to the Graviton. He's going to have to use it here if he wants to bring this back. Mangachu is down. There's the Graviton. Pulls in 3. Follow through is there. Not eaten this time. Mangachu, though, withstanding. However, enough damage has been done that even if LG Evil loses this fight, they should be able to come back on and stall. And Vol just going off. 100% energy. Already back to 40% ultimate charge. So it's been a better second half of this Nepal here for Vol. No doubt about
I mean,
it.
let's not confuse things. Vol has played Zarya great as long as Q is not in the equation. Q is the variable he's been unable to solve for so far, but his actual primary play, his shielding, keeping Super alive in these tank v tank battles, he's been great at all those things.
No doubt about it, and as a result, he's at 55% ult charge already. As LG Evil, they just take this close quarters fight, and what an earth shatter from both sides! Everyone getting a taste of terra firma there. Renegades coming a little bit ahead of that trade, though.
They're trying to get a cheeky cap in, and I don't think anyone notices this. They are going to, nope, they will get stopped from capping it for free there. As Jay comes in, deflects Mangachu's visor right back onto him. Juvenile trying to get onto this point. They will eventually take it back, thanks in no small part to all the cheeky progress they got while the fight was happening.
So, Renegades, they do get that point relatively quickly. They avoid the stall out stage, but still, you look at the progress. LG Evil has plenty of outs to finish this round out strong and take the map. Renegade's gonna have to be nearly flawless moving forward here. And speaking of things coming up, it'll be another Vol Graviton on the way.
Did I give that away? Well, this could be the Graviton to win the game because they only need one more fight. Vol on the redemption tour looking to find it. It's just trying to avoid that Diva. Defense Matrix is up right now. Vol with no energy gonna roll around the right side, try to pop some people with right clicks. Very segmented. Will avoid that charge. Super.
Juvenile just charges in the middle of nowhere, gets nothing, and the Graviton does connect, pulls in 3. And it's a much better setup here from LG Evil, though, aided by Juvenile just missing that charge, and LG Evil near flawless here on this attack. Renegades desperately stalling to stay alive here on Nepal.
Cleaned up, only Juvenile back because he died first in that fight, and Earth Shatter goes off, but no pressure on the point. LG Evil will win Nepal and take the lead in the series over Renegades.
So credit where credit's due. We did have to put him on blast after some questionable Gravitons in a row, but Vol had not only did he fix his Graviton game, but as you mentioned, the entire time, it was still very consistent Zarya power coming in there. And I still wonder with Renegades, they win the round that they run Pharah, and they don't try Pharah at any other point. I understand wanting to get away from the idea that Renegades is only good at Pharah, or they're relying on Pharah comps, but when you start challenging a team like LG Evil at their bread and butter, it almost feels like a little bit of hubris.
Stubbornness works both ways. Stubbornness of not wanting to get off the Pharah was early Mangachu's problem. Now stubbornness of I can play 76, look at me, and not wanting to go on to the Pharah. It's an issue. They played their best when Pharah was on the field. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about that point, the different points in the Pharah's strengths and weaknesses, but we've seen Pharah on every single one of these points. And we've definitely seen Renegades play some interesting stuff. One thing we didn't see there at all that I'm surprised you didn't really call out more, and I guess we haven't seen it the last couple of weeks as much, is the Trash Rat, you know?
No Junkrat.
Where's the Junkrat?
It's Trash Mouse, by the way.
Scratch Mouse,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
Junkrat, Trash Mouse, Rubbish Raccoon. These are verified terms.
I need
alter
one
egos.
second, I need to write these down.
There's more. Twitch has helped me out a great deal with this.
The rabbit hole probably goes even deeper.
It does.
There's a Rabbit, probably. We got to come up with something for Rubbish. Raccoon's already in there, so we
Yeah.
have to come up with something new for that.
Alliteration's important.
Yeah, it is really important in this case.
Robin Rabbit, there you go.
Yeah.
Something that is also important,
not
but maybe
bad.
to a variable degree, as we're finding out, is going to be the Graviton Surge. And so we talked a lot throughout that match about the importance of landing it and what happens when you don't land it. But let's talk a little bit about Zarya and just tanks in general having that damage threat, because it's something that I think that LGE has utilized a lot. So what is the importance of having the potential for your tanks to be pulling out kills like
We
that?
talk about the synergy of LG Evil a lot when we talk about Jake and Train, especially when they're running McCree and Diva or 76 and Diva. One of the other synergies on this team that works out really well is Vol and Super, and they won that battle every single time between Juvenile and Sani and Vol and Super. The Zarya Reinhardt combo, you know it's going to charge, especially Sanctum. Sanctum's a perfect example of it, but they were riding the edge a little longer. The bubble would come up later. He was taking more damage. That gives you 100% charge, and all these things roll together.
And if you don't think that they're doing that intentionally, and there was a play there at the very end when Juvenile kind of just like split the uprates with a charge, and Vol was just there. He just turned right around and didn't even need to necessarily bubble the Reinhardt, but you can tell that that's definitely something they're planning.
LG Evil was at their strongest in tank play versus tank play. So you take a look at this here. Renegades has been at their strongest when they've been using more things like Pharah, more fights in the open areas. I think it was difficult for Renegades to envision really taking that map outright when you're fighting shield battle versus shield battle. Yes, you can do it, but you look historically at both teams' strengths. That was LG Evil's bread and butter. That's when they were on top of the world. And hey, they're still number one in the OCS, so in some ways they still are. But I don't think it was the best approach to try and catch LG Evil off guard because they do have such good tank coordination in situations like that.
In that case, I want to talk a little about Saini. We saw him mostly playing Zarya and tanking things up for the team, synergizing very well with Jesus primarily. Some amazing bigger bang combos as the naming goes. We did see him for just a second on Genji as they were trying to run that triple DPS threat. How do we feel about his play and overall their team play with that?
It's too early for me to really render a verdict on his Genji. I think overall, the quickness that he's able to adapt to this roster and what they're asking of him does speak to his veteran presence in the scene, that he's been on rosters. He knows what it takes to work as a team and win, much like we see Flippy, I think, is a similar case, veteran players who are now on to new rosters. His Genji was underwhelming. The one life I saw him when he got bodied by 76. I think his Diva play been his best so far because it requires a little less coordination. Yes, coming over the top with a bomb with a Zarya, I mean, is something like that. But I don't know.
It was the other way around
yeah,
there.
You're right. I got a little lost there. Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's too early. So far, his Zarya has been his best play.
Yeah, Zarya was good. And I mean, the coordination you had with Jesus there, where Jesus did have these set bombs coming in over the top, and Saini was setting up. It was solid. In terms of evaluating players, it's hard because you are dealing with new communication structure and everything else going on there. I think it's safe to say that overall, I can't go out there and say that Saini is losing them the game. I'm not going to say that he's going out there and absolutely winning them the game with some sort of dominant performance.
Right.
Right now, he's a guy.
Yeah.
He's there.
And here's the thing about talking about Genji. This is not the week to come into this roster and show off your Genji, apparently, because it doesn't seem like that's what they want to prioritize play-wise. So verdict is definitely still out. I am excited to see more of him and potentially on Genji, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out here on the next map, which is going to be Dorado, selected by Renegades as they did go down in map number 3. They're down 2-1 in the series. They came out fighting real strong on Hollywood. What do they have to do on Dorado to pull it back to tie?
They have to win the tank war overall, because I think we're going to see LG Evil run this very tank-heavy composition just to go through Archway in these short areas, and that is one of the things that Saini could work on a little bit, the bubble a little later on Juvenile, because they have been getting out-patiented in that matchup.
Well, we're going to find out that something is in the water for good or ill if Renegades comes out here on Dorado and does not run a Pharah, because Pharah has been a cornerstone of their team, especially on maps with high verticality like Dorado, so it will represent a big shift in how they're going about things right now if you don't see the Pharah in play.
Yeah, because, I mean, yeah, I'll give it to you. Okay, maybe Nepal, yeah, you can run a Pharah, but I can definitely see reasons not to, especially with so many divas on the table. Hollywood, the same. You know, there are many strategies you can bring, and in fact, they look very strong on Hollywood not bringing it, but especially after losing 2 maps, not really playing it very much, the most success you've seen on it, it would be hard-pressed for me to believe that that's not the best option coming into Dorado, as we'll be going into maps shortly. Just a reminder, make sure you're tweeting with the hashtag OCSPlays at Game Carbon for your shot at potentially being on stream towards the end, plus a bunch of swag from Blizzard. But here we are at the desk going into map number 4, where LG Evil, they want to close it out here 3-1. And on the other side of things, the Renegades, they want to bring it to a Game 5. They have selected this map, and they are going to be doing what they can. Take it away, gentlemen.
Well, we are here on Dorado. We've already made our Lumerico company jokes here today, or whatever those may be. But now we're just looking here at this jolly town square where your likelihood of getting mugged by neon paint gangsters is apparently pretty high.
Not so quick to classify what we said as jokes, huh? I mean, there were words. They were words. That's
well,
certain.
Listen, we have a low standard here for many a thing, Hex. Let's.
I laugh at everything. What I wanted to bring up, though, as we've already talked about Lumerica, is how was your pinata game as a kid? Were you able to bust pinatas?
Have you seen how thick my glasses are? Do you think I was able to inflict bodily damage on paper mache with any sort of reliability? The answer is no, Hex.
So eventually your dad just rips the pinata in half and dumps the candy unceremoniously on the ground.
If I was lucky, yes.
Well, that was a joke for sure. I enjoyed that, ZB. Thank you very much for that mental image.
It was just a documentary of my childhood. Don't worry about it, Hex.
Well, we do see the defense is going to be running similar composition to what they've run most of the evening. Jake was even mentioning in chat earlier, this mirror has been fun, but to spoil his mirror ambitions, our Renegades, they will run Mangachu on the Pharah, Saini will be on Genji, Jesus on Tracer, very divey.
This is super fast, even by dive standards. Renegades getting right in there. They are running the Pharah dive, but they are getting pushed right back. Juvenile dies immediately, and I think the problem is a little bit too fast. I mean, as much as Sonic the Hedgehog might approve, or Sanic, as he's known in meme circles, that is a little bit too much. But luckily for Renegades, they've been pushing their cart the entire time, and they get another attempt here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, they're going to take their free push all the way to the bottom of the arch. These damage-boosted rockets will help them out in the shield war. Mangachu comes over the top, trying to dislodge Reinhardt. He does, starts landing some shield, so vandalizing some rockets onto Super. The dive will come in from the other side, but Juvenile killed right away.
Juvenile goes down right away, but Super out of the fight because of Mangachu's opening. This is still very winnable. He's still powered up in over the top, trying to finish off Jake here, but it's a nice shield. Keeps him up and in this. And here comes a barrage from Mangachu, builds up super fast. Is it gonna be 3? It is 3, defensive matrix or no. This is the Renegades that we wanted to see coming into this game, and it's great fair play. Now we have to see if LG Evil has a response.
I just feel bad for Super. That was brutal. It's so hard to play Reinhardt against these compositions. Just looking like confused Travolta there, left, right, above. It's coming from every single angle, unable to swat them down. Jesus is going to be on the flank, looking for some sort of pulse bomb, waiting for information from his team. That's going to be Saini feeding him the info as he's jumping up and down the free poke. No need to peek, Jesus. Patience is a virtue.
Oh, he gets right in there. Doesn't care with defensive matrix. Perfectly laid in. Super. Immediately down in this fight. Here comes the sacrificer from Jake. Gonna try and equalize. Gets one already. Saini not getting much done on that Genji. Although Jake on a scavenger hunt trying to find anyone. Does find Juvenile, who, believe it or not, Winston didn't win too many hide-and-seek competitions as a young gorilla.
It was mostly the noise of chomping on peanut butter that gave him away. Stuck to the roof. It's a loud food. It really is.
Chomp on peanut butter? I mean, it depends. Is it creamy?
You kind
Is
of,
it
like,
crunchy?
you know how a cow chews cud, and it's just like this, it's terrible noise I don't even want to make? That's the noise peanut butter makes. Regardless, this composition has been halted now. They will take free push again, not prioritizing high ground. Super has remained on the Reinhardt despite his better instincts. Dragon Blade will come out for Saini, gets one right away, looking for more, misses his jump up, does still have this Ana in his sights, has to sheath the sword though.
Well, it is back and forth here. Saini is still applying pressure. Juvenile right there with him, but this dive getting punished by Jake. Jake taking down multiple members here, but now very much a bit outgunned. You have to deal with both Saini and Juvenile. He just gets bopped to the corner. Farewell. And the takeaway for your Renegades is they're keeping the payload moving forward as all of this goes on.
The interesting thing is that LG Evil has done nothing in response to this. Super is going to go down again, and I don't know what you expect out of Super. He has been focused, pulse bombed, he's been put through the ringer this map, and they haven't changed it. Here comes a Graviton, does end up coming out from Vol. Jake is going to clean up Mangachu. That is a threat from the sky down. Sound Barrier also came out.
The fall through wasn't really there for the Graviton, but with Mangachu down, that does create more space for LG Evil. Jake still untouched in this fight. 2 kills to 1 in favor of LG Evil. Jesus trying to pull him back, does blow up Super again. Super has had a target on his back the entire time, but look at Jake still in this. Finds Sherlocky, and his Tac Visor will be finishing out the rest of the fight.
I'm sure that the rest of his team wants him to continue playing Reinhardt, but at what point does Super just unplug your keyboard and say, fine, I'll play Reinhardt, I'm just not leaving spawn? It has been brutal for him.
That's not playing Reinhardt, that's just watching Reinhardt be salty.
Oh man, he's gonna have Earthshatter up, hoping to get all of his vengeance back onto probably Jesus for the most part, who has just been sticking pulse bombs all over Super's back. Rob is going to be up with a Nano Boost, ready for one lucky target here. No one really viable to combo with so far.
Well, Jake right now actually very much under pressure by the Rockets, has to give up his initial positioning, didn't like what he was seeing there. Now gonna activate the Nano Boost, but they're already down. Super gets blown up again. Jake now laying in the damage, takes down Juvenile, and his positioning works out. He's not under pressure by Mangachu, but the Resurrection could be changing the course of this fight. Rez now in play. Renegades still swarming in and around this point, and it's going pretty well for them post-Resurrection.
Brez comes out, and Jake found himself completely out of position when everyone was brought back to life. That will be second point grasped by the Immortals here. Slowed down a little bit on second, not quite the push they had on first. We will see what Saini has on his Genji. Is a good Genji player. Haven't seen so much of it tonight. Rob will take down Sherlock. He's super. Make the announcement.
He's had enough. He's finally had enough of Pulse Bomb being on his back like a companion that just won't leave. So he's going to go Winston. Winston's also a target of Pulse Bombs, but he's going to have a little bit more ability to move in and around. Still, here comes Renegades diving in. Sadie pulling out the Dragon Blade, looking for Jake, and gets Pulse Rifle to the dome in response. The tactical visor stronger. Flanking barrage, though, in from Mangachu as Renegades still in this fight. But the trade's going a little bit more in favor of LG Evil here as Lucio gets the electric ride of his life.
Super. I'm just happy for him. That was hard to watch. I've mentioned several times, it's so difficult to play Reinhardt against that composition because where are you going to look? Left, right, above, there. It's got all the sorts of damage.
Wait. Is he going back to Ryan? He is going back to Ryan, so you can save your praise, although the reason is that Jesus is now the diva. That's why you're seeing the swap.
No more pulse bombs for him. Also, this is a very defensible position, one of the harder maps to finish because this high ground defender's advantage, which is why they're prioritizing taking high ground. A Sanctum-like battle now occurring up top. Sound barrier goes off. Sadie slept in the back line.
Sadie's been having trouble getting things done in Dorado in particular, and LG Evil just using their counter dive to their advantage, powering through Renegades.
Super.
4 kills in this fight, and it goes very bad for Renegades very quickly in the tight corridors as LG Evil, again, flexes their close quarters muscle. And look at Jesus, they're just barely staying above it.
Super got 3 kills in the last fight. I think he made a deal with his team. I'll go Reinhardt if you give me the nano boost, because otherwise I'm not playing it. He got that boost and capitalized on it, which is why you see him ready with Earth Shatter up. Again, this is such a defensible position for the defense up top. You either have to come fight in a hallway, not ideal circumstances for most teams, or you take the free push and you get collapsed upon. They're opting for the free push at the moment.
Well, Super eyeing up the composition, measuring them, getting ready to jump off the top rope with an Earth Shatter here potentially. He's going to jump down. No Earth Shatter here just yet as Juvenile desperately trying to stay alive. Desperation charge. Earth Shatter comes down from Super. Not quite sure how many it knocked down, but it does set up Bull for 2 kills, so presumably at least 2, as LG Evil, powered by tanks, just rolling through the remainder of Renegades.
And Juvenile just took himself out of that fight, and the rest of his team paid for it. They were going to stagger this diva with the
she
body
can't get out.
blocks.
The bouncers. Finally, she's free. Be free to jump off the cliff.
Fly away, young dove, as she will reset and get back with her team. Speaking of reset, that was important because 45 seconds left to try to close out this map. They have to push into grab, they have to push into nano visor.
This has been a storyline all night long. Vol holding on to the graviton, throws it in, it does connect, pulls in everything for Super to just pile on with that fire strike and swings the hammer. Jake throws in the tech visor a little bit more so.
I would have liked to hold on to that for this next push that's going to happen. You already won decisively there. Granted, there's only 15 seconds left, but anything can happen in Overwatch. We know that. Jake is going to be taking this flank position. Everyone else will hold at door, so Jake's going to try to get a lot of free damage. He's back there with his Ana, too, so already they have a free Lucio in their sights if they can figure it out. They do end up boosting Jake, or boosting Saini.
Saini coming in, takes down 1 early on. Not the worst engage hit for Renegades. Now it's a much better engage. More things going their way. They lose Zarya, but it's very much in their favor. Super holding on to an Earth Shatter. I don't know if he's got Panic Earth Shatter this or not. No, he's got to hold on to it. LG Evil gonna try and get back onto the payload and stall this out. Now, you take a look at what they have here. They don't have anything that's like quick that's gonna get on this. And Jake, he does go Tracer, but I wonder if it's gonna be in time. The payload almost at its final destination. 1.73 meters, and Jake gets on there in time. Now where's Super for what could be a finishing Earth Shatter? He's coming back onto the point. Holding on to it. How close is this point and catches Juvenile off guard. Wasn't even looking for it. They do not complete.
So close there. I have to think most of that could have been avoided had they saved that nano visor, just piling on when the fight was already won, and you can see what can happen with only 15 seconds left. Very close. An interesting switch they had there towards the end was Saini went on to the 76, while Mangachu was the one on the Zarya. So I'm not sure if it just happened based on when they wanted to swap or how things went, but that was an interesting wrinkle from the Renegades roster lineup. Anyway, but the path to victory rather clear for LG Evil. Finished Dorado. Easier said than done.
It is easier said than done, especially when we've been seeing teams get holds on first more often as of late. I think if LG Evil is able to get through first, I don't really see them getting stopped at second, and I think third will be very much winnable for them. For Renegades, though, we'll see if they can come out with an iron defense that keeps LG Evil a bit off guard.
Going to be interesting to see what either team wants to run here. I do not think Train will be on the attack bastion, but nothing from LG Evil will surprise me. But again, their strongest moments came when their tanks were playing well together. Again, Super on last point, despite all the troubles he had on second. It's just such a wide open area on second. It becomes very difficult for a Reinhardt. I don't think Jake will be on the Widow unless that's going to be a very first peak. But what we do know is that defensively, as they've already left spawn, this is exactly going to be what Renegades is going to run. And yeah, they will continue this swap up. Mangachu instead will play the Zarya and Saini on the 76.
On face value, I don't dislike this. It depends on where Saini 76 is. Mangachu 76 has been plagued with problems. I mean, it's been all right tonight, but not world-breaking. I don't know where Saini 76 is. It's been a very long time since we've seen him on it. This could be a very good swap up. I'm willing to be impressed.
Juvenile lining up the initial fire strike here. It will come from the right side. It will hit Super. Not bad from Juvenile. Some free alt charge there. And the push begins. They will give a lot of free push, not even holding up top, looking for a little poke. They are giving up a lot of ground for free, just holding back at Archway. If they get a pick of some sort, that will be the go button to come around the corner, but just right now, shield battles galore on Dorado.
It's a classical Dorado defense here. No new age aggression, instead saying, come fight us in the courtyard. We have a party. Not the party you usually want to be invited to. And
your parties are weird. I don't know if
my
I want
parties
to go
are
to any of
amazing.
them.
Either way, both teams fighting here in the underpass, and Juvenile getting it taken down first again. The tank war still very much going in favor of LG Evil, and they're just piling on here. Jake coming in on the flank, plenty of targets available to him. Gonna be looking in front of here, just waiting for the Helix Rocket. Doesn't even need it to finish it out, and Renegades just getting out-rotated pretty heavily there after Juvenile goes down first.
Super 3 kills, Vol a kill in there as well. It has been the tank show for LG Evil. This is how Hammers Esports made their name to such a level to be acquired by Luminosity Gaming, being their second team. We saw Loyal earlier tonight, Evil having a little bit better run of it so far. They trounced through that point, over 5 minutes left while they wait for yet another slow Overwatch gate to open. They will have Nano Visor upcoming, still a bit away for their opponents here. See where they want to set up. Generally, they're just all going to be perched on high ground and not really a lot to deal with. The Train's going to have to go for a boop up top.
I'm curious where Jake is right now in regards to all this, as he's going to look for that Nano Visor setup. And no, the Nano Boost goes in the Vol, who just melts down Juvenile. Jake falls on top. Yeah, he was going for the flank, but the ground war going very well here. Vol, I take it back. Sadie with the Tactical Visor, able to clean the rest of that up. So, was going well. And I'm going to note here, the real downside for LG Evil is that Jake used Tactical Visor and just got bodied up on top, so they're not going to have that for the next push.
When your soldier says he's going to go for a flank, try to convince him otherwise. It has not been a great tactic for the most part. The risk-reward simply isn't there for me to buy into it very hard. Vol will have Graviton up, though. Super is still holding on to an Earth Shatter, so some important ultimates at the ready for this team. They will Earth Shatter the other side, and that's a Graviton to keep everyone out of that fray. A late Sound Barrier will come in, but it's only Juvenile now.
Juvenile, when the last one's on the point, his Nano Boost is over. He's getting flanked from all sides. Still somehow alive here, getting healed into the back end. Juvenile finally falls. Jake able to land those last few shots, and momentum pretty relentless here from LG Evil. You did have a burst of power from Renegades in regards to the Attack Visor, but Attack Visor was down. And
greedy.
It's super greedy. I don't know why he's out there, but he gets shielded, and the rest of his team able to support him in there, so Renegades not able to finish their plate there. The rest of LG Evil right there with Jake, and perhaps not as greedy in the end after all, as usually flanking soldiers don't get that level of support.
Well, another great play by Vol to keep him alive during that, because he was slept and dead to rights on the stairs had he not gotten the support from his team. But perhaps he knew it was coming and was able to take that route instead. He has got in high ground now. Jake on the high ground can be very dangerous. Going to finish off this Lucio.
Where is he?
Eventually, he uses the rockets to do so. Now Saini is going to be, going to be on a flank of his own.
Flanking Attack Visor up for Sadie. Gets a boss early on. Here comes the Self-Destructor on top as Jesus makes it a bang. 2 falling off of that, and that's going to crush this push where it stands. And yet, still 3 minutes to go here for Renegades in holding out on second. That's a daunting task, particularly when they're not going to have as much as they would like for this next fight. They have a Nano Boost, but relatively dry outside of the Nano and the Earth Shatter.
A little curious why supercharged there. Maybe he was low and he was going to die and the shield was going to go down anyway, but he gave his team nowhere to hide behind. That's why they lost 3 in that self-destruct. A lot of ults up for LG Evil, Tactical Visor, and Nano Boost. Of course, that's a combination we've seen all night. Super also has Earth Shatter up, but they lose Super and Vol extremely early. That push is over.
That's not what they needed there. They actually had a very good window to come in there. They still might have it because very few members of Renegades got an ultimate off of that. But the key here is going to be, can Jake come in off a very good flank over the top? And in reaction to that flank, is Super going to get a good Earth Shatter? So these are the 2 primary actors to look at here. Could go in the other order, but oftentimes a Nano Visor is one of the most distracting things in the entire game, and that opens up your Reinhardt to get those plays.
They are watching the flank, so they know it's coming. They're going to wait for them to get up the stairs before they try to punish it, though. It is a long hallway there. Need to wait for your shield. Super is going to be up here providing it momentarily.
Well, they've taken the high ground, and now the question is, when does Jake pull the trigger? When does he use that? And Renegades, they're playing the payload. They're actually getting away from this. I like the position coming out from Renegades here. It's going to force LG Evil to commit on them from an angle that doesn't give them as much from the Tactical Visor. And now they're going to go in, and as I say that, there's still too many people in the back. It's a shooting gallery for Jake. Takes down 1 immediately. Lucky it wasn't more. Finds 2. And not everyone got the memo of splitting out there. Could have been very good, though.
They were in a good position behind the cart, waiting for it. They had the shield up, they had the cart to block sightlines, and then 3 people up top decided that they were just going to walk out like ducks in a carnival game, and Jake took them down in short order. I think they also used a boost, maybe? Yeah, they did. I think they boosted Saney before he had Tactical Visor, hoping to nullify Jake, but they went the other way in that fight. Now catching out some late spawns here, trying to get some spawn. That is Juvenile jumping in, and what happens to Juvenile when he charges like that? Generally dies.
Well, he runs in the wall and gets crunched by Vol. That's exactly what happens. And Vol now holding on to that Graviton, gonna get slept, but he can take this fight off. They're still winning this decisively, and they have 2 minutes and 15 seconds left to bring this to that yellow box victory. It is almost on the final point, but not quite. LG Evil, plenty of time and good resources going into this next fight.
They've got at least 2 good pushes here. Vol is going to have Graviton up. They have Sound Barrier. This is a time where I wouldn't mind initiating for Sound Barrier. I think they should take it slow, though, because they're about to have 5 ults, and it could be a game-winning fight if they get everything going for them. That's how much progress that they have. Graviton will come out.
Graviton comes out here from Renegades. They're all in. Self-destruct over the top. Jesus, so consistent with those self-destructs. And so it's at the point here where I just want to assume he's going to get 2 kills because he's been that darn effective all over the course here. But there is a downside to all things as LG Evil. You can't ask for a better position coming back in. And this is risky from Renegades. I guess they want to drain out some ultimates here. It could work out well, but
it's just poke. I think they just want to try to get their ults up. They're not going to commit much more to this. Very safe with the Diva defense matrix there too, and Zarya bubbles.
It is, but they're also going to be sacrificing good positioning here, and we'll see if Vol is able to land the Graviton. If he does, that could be GG. As Vol is going to be looking for the Graviton to pierce things through here. Doesn't want to donate to Jesus. Waiting for the setup. And he's respecting defensive matrix quite a bit here as both teams just brawling in these close quarters. There's the Graviton, nails it, and Super's right there for the fall through. It's a beauty. Vol no longer throwing those Gravitons into the ether. And Renegades now in a very rough position. Nano Visor is still up here, Hex, not Tex. You're not wearing a cowboy hat.
No, well, they don't know that, man. I put on my special cowboy hat between camera time because it makes me feel special. Regardless, Jake is going to have the high ground with Tactical Visor, not a position you want to be in on the defense. Juvenile is going to have to hit an Earth Shatter of a lifetime here. The boost does come out defensively. Here comes the offensive Visor.
Nano Visor on the way. Defensive Matrix is going to be neutralizing Jake a bit here. It's good play from Jesus to stop that from doing as much as they want. Meanwhile, Sadie, Tac Visor his own. D-Mex early on, but this is so close to victory. Renegades spread out here. Fall doing so much work on the Zarya. Defensive Graviton comes out late from Megachu, but the fall through not there. Too many have fallen. LG Evil almost to the victory point. They're going to push that payload in all the way and defeat Renegades 3-1 here in the OCS. Winning 3 straight after dropping the first.
The only thing standing in the way of the LG Evil Empire going 10-0 is Team Liquid. I predicted last week they're going to do it just because it'd be the liquidest thing ever.
It would be pretty funny, especially if Complexity loses all their games this week, so.
A little Lucio love for Jer here. Keep some people alive, get some damage going. You have to do a lot as Lucio to get play of the game.
And actually, I don't know if you know the answer to this here, Gil, but given that I think the head-to-head record between Complexity and Team Liquid is tied, if it did end up where Team Liquid beat LG Evil somehow and Complexity lost all their games this week, would they have to play in a tiebreaker?
I think they would, and we're going to really have to dive deep into the tiebreaker rules. But the second tiebreaker rule is the head-to-head map matchup, and both of those were 3-0s, so they each have a victory. Match-wise, and they were both 3-0s, so it would be real close between the two of them. And not to mention that we have got a real close middle of the pack here. And we'll look at the standings later, maybe. So let me just calm down. I'm immediately looking at, oh my gosh, playoff contention. Let's just talk about Dorado for a second here. And the first thing that I want to bring up is the Express Dive comp that we saw coming out early on. The Have You Ever Went Fast Sanic comp, as I call it. What did they get from diving, first of all, immediately out there? And what did they lose, I guess, from that?
Well, what you get from dying immediately is that you can catch teams off guard. That's certainly something that can happen. But the downside is that Juvenile went in a little bit too early. The support wasn't there. And suddenly Juvenile is finding himself dead early on. You Fedorov ultimate, and it doesn't work out well. I mean, a lot of the dive comps are done on a bit of a thin margin, but I would say is that at the very least you want to make sure that people are in there with your Winston, because Winston has a very small line in where he rides, and if he doesn't have people immediately supporting him, immediately able to heal him, he can die very quickly, and you get very little from that.
What we saw with that, even when Juvenile did go down, is that they'd put such pressure on there that they got Archway for essentially free because Super had to go all the way back. He was taking so much pressure. A lot of that was just a beautiful concussion to set Super in front of the rest of his team that opened up Magnitude to hit Rockets over top. That's when Juvenile went in for the dive. He got cleaned up, but they did eventually get Super pushed all the way back. It gets you through that Archway for free against a tank-heavy composition.
Yeah, the other theme coming into this one was the, I was going to do a little take, if you will, trying to become a commercial personality, and I just want to do a little ad for Renegades if we can go over to camera 1 or left guy cam, and that is, oh my gosh, here it comes, LG Evil powered by tanks. Anybody? No? Okay. Well, we'll.
That was a long setup.
That was a long setup.
No, I was not prepared. Okay, this is why I'm over here struggling, getting carried by you guys. But talk about getting carried. The tanks really did carry. Okay. Now we're gonna LG Evil. Why is this so strong, and especially against teams like Renegades, 3 versus 3 tank, 3 tank versus 3 tank? LG continues to come out on top.
Well, for LG, it's a style play that they defined themselves on. It's where they broke out onto the scene on. And it just comes down to the fact that when you look at interactions between their tanks moving in, the healers supporting it, and things like Zarya shields coming in at good timings, mechanically, they're just better at playing that. It's not that the other team isn't trying to do the same thing. It's that LG Evil has played that composition longer. They were historically more successful, and it has been their style when they've been doing well. So for Renegades, I do wonder, and we talked about this before, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I do wonder about the wisdom of sort of challenging your opponent to their very best thing and trying to outdo them at it. It's difficult to do so.
I've made the comparison to this team a long time ago when I first saw them to NIP. European team played 4 tanks very, very well. Probably defined 4 tanks. And they have the same personality about it too, because just reading the chat that I'm privy to here, they're like, this mirror is fun. It means they want you to run the mirror into them because they feel practiced on it. They feel better on it. That's the same answer NIP would give you. Is like, what are you going to do if they run the same thing? It's like, we run it better. We've always run it better, and they do.
Yeah, and with the way that the meta has been shifting, we are still seeing some 3 DPS compositions, but more and more the 3-1-2 with 3 tanks is starting to rise to the surface. But if I know anything about Overwatch, is that things are going to change very quickly. And while we have seen a lot of adaptation from this LG Evil squad, they're going to have to show us a little bit more if they really are going to solidify their spot in our hearts and minds. And they have definitely taken another step in solidifying themselves on the top of the standings here, now at 9-0. But let's take a look at the spread at large. We do have 3 teams that have secured their spots in the playoffs, and the rankings are still have yet to be really shaken down. But let's take a look. LG Evil, as I mentioned, 9-0 on top. And with that victory earlier for Immortals, and with Renegades losing this last one, they are now tied for that second place spot. And so it truly is anybody's game, especially because Complexity is going to be coming out with 2 more games this week. It's a tough matchups, but they're at 4-4. Team Liquid, they really got to hope that Complexity can't pick up any victories, because that is their only avenue for getting into the playoffs. And well, yeah, I mean, and then they're probably going to have to win a tiebreaker. So it really is an uphill battle for them. LG Loyal, they've got one more match left, and they're going to be trying to play spoiler against Team Liquid, in fact, as we'll be coming into them tomorrow. But before we go too deep into the schedule, how are we feeling about the standings after day 1, week 5?
Despite what we saw tonight, the only team I think that can beat LG Evil is Immortals. And whether that happens in round 1 or round 2 or however the playoffs shake out, that is the only team I see with a chance to dethrone them. So teams should be rooting for Immortals to get the 4th seed so that they don't have to play LG Evil and possibility play Immortals. But I've seen nothing from Renegades or Complexity that says that they could beat them. And I do believe that, I mean, the history has shown that maybe LG Evil had an off day, but Immortals can have those big up days too to take down LG Evil.
I will say this, though. I generally agree with what you're saying here. However, there is the idea where LG Evil has had random series where they have looked mortal.
Yep.
Not just in the OCS, but also this last weekend where they suddenly just don't show up for any of the group stage games in the monthly melee. So for LG Evil, it's a tentative frontrunner. This is not invincibility in a frontrunner, as we have seen in other cases where you think back to, ages past, last summer, where you had periods where Envy looked absolutely unbeatable, crushing everyone. LG Evil is on top, but there's still intrigue and upset potential, I feel like.
Yeah, my big question, because we talked earlier about when are you reaching your peak? Because, well, LG Evil, I don't want to say they peaked early, but since we've seen some of these vulnerabilities coming out lately, it actually probably is more attributed to the other teams kind of rising. And one of those is Immortals for sure. But Complexity, they started off very weak in the early weeks. Then they had a strong showing in the middle, and then they somewhat fallen out this last week. So my big question is, how are they going to perform in their 2 matches this week? Because that could be very telling, because we have no idea what Complexity team is going to show up.
Well, figuratively and literally, I don't even know what their roster is going to be this week. They've changed their roster every single week, so it's very hard to get a gauge on Complexity. It was hard to get a gauge on Complexity when they ran the same roster, just because they were so up and down. They were the original Enigma, and now I don't know who's going to play tank for them week to week.
Well, it's kind of funny is that one of the interesting commentaries on Harblue, who, of course, very popular player, very popular streamer, but for Complexity, it was always sort of this narrative of you lived by the Harblue and you died by the Harblue, because his style of play that lent himself to getting crazy plays where he took down 4 or 5 people also would lend himself to just dying in the back line. So you talk about Complexity historically. You're right. You did get a different Complexity based on the given day that you were watching.
Well, Complexity, they also have an uphill battle. I mean, not as much as Liquid, but let's take a look at the schedule for the rest of this week, just to see how things are going to shake out. So we've got the bottom of the barrel starting off tomorrow, as Team Liquid is going to be needing to find victory against LG Loyal in the first matchup tomorrow. Complexity will then be facing off against Renegades. And while strictly speaking, this is not a must win, it definitely is going to feel like it for them, as they want to join that middle of the pack tie at 5-4, and actually in that case send Renegades down even another notch. And then to close out the week, we've got some very, very important matches. LG Evil versus Team Liquid could be very important depending on the results from tomorrow. And then I can't imagine a situation where Complexity versus Immortals is not going to have a heavy impact into the seeding coming into the playoffs. These are the 4 remaining games coming into the playoffs this weekend. If you had to pick one match, we talked about it earlier. I don't want to spend too much time on it. We don't even need to analyze it. What match are we most excited to see?
Last match of the week.
Last match of the week, yes. Also for me, Team Liquid versus LG Loyal, because it's interesting, because that's sort of the last parting shots of LG Loyal, like a swimmer who's drowning the lifeguard who tries to save him type of situation. They can drag Team Liquid down into the abyss and make Complexity have a much less stressful set of games. So for me, I think the first matchup tomorrow is actually pretty interesting just for those implications alone.
It's funny, yeah. We talk about, well, I mean, if you were objectively just saying, okay, well, the match with the biggest impact for the standings, of course, is going to be the last one. But the first one tomorrow actually is going to be an interesting one to watch. So don't miss it. We will be starting back again tomorrow night at 5:15 PST. And with that, we do have our OCS play from that last matchup. We're going to go and play our credits first, and then we'll be showing you that. So don't go anywhere. We've got one more play to give us a nice bang going out tonight, and we'll see you all tomorrow for more Overwatch Carbon Series.
Here comes Deep Self-Destruct in over the top, and look at that from Jesus takes down 2. Immediately sending LG Evil back. They're not able to avoid that. And just when you think LG Evil might be getting momentum going.
Defense Matrix, he does bully his way through the shield, but it's too late. No kill so far for Mangachu.